What's up, Goober? Welcome to my Ancient map guide. I am juiced about this one because I love Ancient. It has the best of everything and can be played so creatively. So in this video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know. The timings, the callouts, the defaults, how to play each position on T and CT side, and all the util you will ever need to know for both sides in a section at the end. Feel free to use the chapters down below to bounce around. Also, check out the massive glossary I made with more specific sections. It takes me forever, so please use it. That will be in the description and hopefully, if it fits, in the pinned comment as well. I don't like asking people to subscribe at the beginning of videos because you haven't seen anything worth subscribing for yet, but I always forget to do so in these videos, so I'm gonna do it now. Please subscribe. I already have map guides out for Mirage, Dust, Inferno, and Overpass, so check those out and also subscribe if you want to see the future ones I make. I also stream here on YouTube, so please jump in if you see it and ask me whatever you want. Okay, before we jump in, thank you so much to Skins Monkey for sponsoring this video. Skins Monkey is a trusted automated CS2 trading site. It's super easy to use. All you have to do is pick something in your inventory, check how much it's worth, and then go get something new from the monkey. What's also super nice is the filters you can use to narrow down your searches. You can either use your skins to trade for new ones or deposit money with their 30% bonus offer. This becomes 35% when you use my code Wilson. Please use it. Using my code, you can also get up to $5 for free. Use my code Wilson, link is in the description. Early round timings. They're so important on Ancient, so here are the ones you need to know. The CT with the best spawn for mid will just barely be able to cross into Donut before a T can peek them from elbow. If you instead just run down mid, then a T can swing you right about here. Jumping into Cubby from red gives Ts plenty of time to spot you cross. If the Ts rush out mid, then you can beat them to back Donut with the best spawn, even if you throw the elbow smoke. And lastly, towards mid, a CT with the best spawn for B can swing mid from shelf around a minute 41. Towards B, let's talk about the timings into Jaguar. All of these include a shelf nade from the CT to slow the T down a little bit. Honestly, between all 5 spawns, there's not a massive difference because the nade consistently slows the T down. However, this is misleading as we're testing this in an empty practice server, and Ancient CT spawn has a huge body blocking problem in real games. Without the better spawns, a CT trying to fight Cave will get consistently body blocked, which will mess up the timing for their HE and, of course, delay their swing into Jag. I'll get more into what to do with which spawns as the CT Cave player later in the positional guide section. On B site, a CT can cross towards Cubby without getting spotted by a T rushing ramp, but they will be able to hear each other. If you swing ramp with the best spawn, then T's rushing B can already be towards top ramp. Alternatively, if you swing via short, then first contact is about halfway up ramp. CTs running down mid can peek shelf from jump up way before Ts can make it into Jaguar. And if the CTs make the mid jump, then it's about the same timing. Over towards A, CTs will meet Ts in the left side of A main right around here if they're both running. And if the Ts are rushing A, then a CT who goes Donut instantly will hear them right around the entrance to the main part of Donut. So there are the timings. Let's move on to the callouts I'm going to use in this video. Ancient has a lot of different callouts, especially between NA and EU, so I thought I would just go through the callouts I use. Maybe in your region people use different callouts, but I thought this would be helpful so you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so over towards B, we have B doors. We have bucket right here, which is this cubby. It's called bucket because there's a bucket right there. This space right here is shelf. Once we get up here, this is Jag because of the big Jaguar. And then once you get through here, this space is now cave. So cave, and then up here, Jag. Towards B, this box, if somebody's on top of it, it's boost. If somebody's down here, I call this now armpit. I made this up and my team uses it now, but I don't think anybody else would call it that. This is B ramp. If you say B main, people are going to know what you're talking about. Right here, we have pillar. People like to play behind this, so very important call out. The default bomb spot is right here. So if you say I'm planting default, then it's going to be right here. And if you say I'm planting for long, then you're planting right here. We then have cubby, which is this spot where you can hide, or you can play back here in this cubby. Over here, we have long and we have short. To be more specific, this is often called slant. However, on my team, we like to call this first and this cubby over here in long second. So first, second. Again, I don't think other people use that, but I like to use that to make it more clear. Back here, we have deep, long, and then we have end game. So end game is this choke point right here. If you get a smoke down end game, then the game is ending because it's a really good smoke and it's really good space to take. This in general is called square. So if somebody's right here, you might hear somebody say their front square or their square. And if somebody's back here, then you might hear somebody say their back square. Over towards middle, we have elbow, which is this choke right here. We have jump up because you can jump up on these boxes to peek shelf. Often this space right here is called cat. Typically it's different from shelf, right? This is shelf and then you can say cat for this. We have cubby right here, which is in middle. I don't think it's too confusing, right? If somebody calls cubby this and then somebody else calls cubby this, pretty obvious which one they're talking about. Out towards middle, we have donut, and then we have a red right here. In donut, we have back donut, left donut, right donut, right? You can just say which direction they are. Once we're out A, this is CT. Then we have default box. If you're saying I'm planting safe, it typically means you're planting on this corner because you're not exposed to donut. If you say I'm planting default, then you're planting next to default. On this side of A site, we have big box, and then we have brokey. I call this space brokey right here, and then if you're playing behind here, this is big box. There's also plat or platform, which is this headshot angle up here, and then we have temple, right? All of this we can call temple. Obviously CT spawn. Once we go all the way around here, this is A main. That's about it. I don't want to overcomplicate it or go on too much, so let's move on. Let's talk about a typical default on T side. We're going to see one player chill back here and hold ramp. They're responsible for just making sure CTs don't push down ramp. We have two players getting up shelf. These two are either trying to fight Jag and kill this player and take this space, or maybe they're smoking this off and then getting up shelf and splitting mid. Then we have the elbow players, these two, who are responsible for denying jump up early from CTs, just so that these two players don't instantly die as they run up shelf and a CT peeks them here. It'd be super unfortunate. We don't want that to happen, so we molly it. It depends what the CTs are doing, but these two are typically trying to take mid, whether it be early in the round or later into the round. They try to take this mid space. Now, you'll notice that we've already done 5 Ts, and we haven't talked about an A main lurk. That's because on a typical default, you shouldn't just be walking A main. A main is a really bad place to just lurk and walk through. Later into the round, it's easy to retake A main if you have people to come trade with you. And for a CT to push through this space, this becomes really awkward because you could get swung on from here, you could get swung on from here, you could just get swung on from here, right? So it's a huge gamble for a CT to push A main, which means that we don't need somebody to walk in and post on it and really control that space. It's not a space we necessarily have to fight for early in the round. In terms of opping, T-side Ancient is one of the hardest sides in all of CS2 to op. You're just facing a lot of util, not great choke points. There aren't a bunch of picks you can go for, not a lot of really long range fights. So as an opper, if you want to get an op on T-side, you should know why. You should see what the gap is and know what you want to exploit with the op. Otherwise, I would say you should mostly be rifling. Before I go position by position, CT side Ancient is played very fluidly, especially over towards mid and towards A. Because A is so retakeable, and because it's such a bad place to just lurk as a T and walk out if somebody's holding you, you should just die, or get blocked by a smoke. So it's not high priority for CTs early in the round. What is, however, is middle and shelf. So our CT default typically looks like a B anchor who is responsible for shutting down B rushes early. Then we have the cave/jag player who is fighting for this space here and trying to deny shelf from the Ts. Over towards middle, we have two riflers who are trying to get down mid and take mid space with the assistance of an elbow smoke. And then we have our opper over here in red, who is often flashing or assisting these two in the mid take. And then this player is floating over towards B or back over towards A if they feel like that's the right decision. Ancient is tricky to talk about because it is played so differently at different elos. At lower elos, nobody knows how to throw the instant elbow smokes, and often people don't know the shelf util to molly and nade this. which means that at lower elo, you have to play Ancient very passively if you don't know that util. However, if you learn the elbow smokes and you learn the shelf util, then you can play Ancient much more aggressively, and you can play to take mid, you can play to take shelf. Then Ancient really opens up for you and your team. The more passive setup would look like a player in donut, one player in red, and one player over on A. However, in this, we're not really fighting for anything. We're not really taking any space, and we're just granting the T's middle essentially for free. So if you resonate with that messaging that, hey, on CT, I feel like I just have to play passive every single round. I'm sitting in red, I get smoked, what the heck do I do? Then this is the video for you, because I'm going to show you how to play Ancient on CT side much more aggressively, and I'm going to show you the same thing on T side, how to take space away from the CTs. Let's freaking go, dude. All right, let's get into how to play the different CT positions, and we're going to start with the B anchor. The B anchor on Ancient is a very important role. Often you're going to be fully alone because you have a cave players committing into cave, you have mid players committing down mid, and maybe your AWPer is starting on A. So you're going to be spending a lot of time by yourself on this site. So important role, let's talk about the early round. And when we talk about the early round, especially for a side anchor, we need to think about rushes, right? We need to shut down early rushes, and B site is a good round for T's to rush, especially on light buys, because if they're able to smoke short or close distance, they can take a lot of close range fights, which is advantageous when they're on a eco rush type round. So here's your bread and butter molly for anti-rush and just starting rounds off. You get out of spawn, you're running this way, you get your molly out, you're going to line up perpendicular to this wall as you run, and you're going to aim at this line about halfway through. And then once you clear it, you pass this, then you left click jump throw, and then boom, this is your starter round molly. It's going to molly off this cubby, and it's going to be here at the middle of ramp, which makes it tricky for T's to actually get up ramp past it because it is so quick, right? Because you're throwing it right here is so fast. Whereas if you come up short and you throw a deep molly like that, the T's can often just beat your timing and be in front of this molly. So that brings me to my next point. If you're not throwing this molly early, then instead you should get up and you should throw a more shallow molly off of this bit right here. Otherwise, it's going to be too deep and it's not going to be super helpful. Something you should think about at the start of the round too is that you don't want to block your cave player. Your cave player's timing into cave is mega important. And as a cave player myself, I cannot freaking stand it when a B anchor comes here and they line up a molly and they just body block the hell out of me and my timing is donezo. Their timing is so important. Do not get in their way. Don't throw mollies like this unless you let your cave player by first and you're not blocking them. So if you start the round with this molly, typically you're going to start the round towards long just because that's where your momentum is carrying you, right? Boom, you throw that molly, and then you have some options too for early round util of what you want to throw. If you hear the T's smoke that molly, left and right clicking a nade towards the top of that mountain can be super freaking strong because boom, they smoke the molly, they're up, bang, they get naded, and then you can swing them while they're super slowed by that nade. I honestly wouldn't default a deep nade every single round unless you notice that the T's are just like peeking bottom ramp off rip. It's not worth it doing it every single round, right? Early, I think react to sound of a smoke or react to seeing a person and then nade, but don't just default a nade every single round. One thing that could be good to default is a bottom ramp flash, especially if you're looking to fight down ramp early. You can throw that molly, you're crossing this way, you get your flash out, and then you aim just around this way. Maybe the bottom of that shadow is a good point to think about, and then boom, you can swing off that. If you know the T's are rushing, a flash that can be somewhat better to throw is one off of this wall. Bang, you're tuck, 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 and then boom, you're swinging off that. And then as T's get up ramp, this is going to pop right in their face as they're swinging this way, and then boom, you're out counter swinging them. For the most part, I would advise you against starting the round in the site. Like I said before, most often you're on an island. And if you die early, or if you're playing pillar, the T's see you, then they can molly you, flush you out, kill you, and then boom, they just have the B site for free. So you have to be aware, is somebody with me? Is somebody helping me on site? Because if somebody is, then you can commit into site and you guys can play a crossfire, right? Playing pillar and long can be pretty nice because boom, as the T scale up here, now they're in this nice crossfire between you two. Playing cubby and long with somebody else, this is a nice crossfire too. You can tuck, your long player takes contact, and then boom, you're swinging off of that. So just be aware, like, is somebody helping you? Can somebody flash for you? Can somebody play a crossfire with you? Then yeah, commit into site. Otherwise, for the most part, I would play long. Long is the comfort spot for a B anchor. And the reason for this is that if you're playing alone on B, then the most important thing you can do, aside from just killing the entire enemy team, is maintain this long space. The big reason for this is that if your team is committed out mid and they're fighting cave, they're fighting jag, they're fighting shelf, and they have all that space, right? We still have cave, we still have all of this. Then if the T's come B and you're able to maintain this long space, the T's have zero space to work with. They don't have cave and they don't have long, which means what space do they have for this retake? They got pillar, cubby, out in the open, and ramp. That's kind of it. So the T's, when they take B, they either need cave or they need long in order to have like a really nice post plant situation. If they have neither, then the retake is super easy because, like we talked about, B site, really small site, and if you don't have either, no space. So maintain that long control. You can even expend utility on the goal of maintaining this long control because it is just that important. So let's imagine that we're playing deep long and the T's are taking B. We still have a cave player alive who can control this space. Our job now isn't to hold the B site and kill 5 people. You don't need to do that. You just have to keep this long space. You can expend your utility to maintain this long space. You can molly close long and prevent them from pushing this spot. You can flash behind yourself like this, boom, and swing off of that and kill these players pushing you. You can ask your red rotator, your mid rotate, hey, flash behind me, flash behind me. And it's super easy for them to just boom, send a flash behind you and you can swing off that. You just want to keep the space and stay alive because it's not your job to 1v5 hold the bomb site. One other note here is that for both fights, there's a huge shadow advantage. You see there's this shadow, and then if I am a T swinging right here, there's a shadow advantage right here as well. So to mitigate this as a CT, you can stand in this shadow so then you don't have a shadow, you know, poking out for them to see, or you can stand in this shadow too and swing close off of seeing their shadow. However, when both you and the T's are like wide swinging this, it's not like super relevant. It's just a tiny little warning. But if they're like crouch walking or they're like slow clearing this, that's where it becomes like a really, really big advantage. The reason why it's so awful for you to even go 1-for-1 and die when you're holding for long space is because if the T's take long and they're able to smoke off game ender, and you could tell by the name game ender, this is the game ending smoke. This smoke is so difficult to push through for CTs. So if the T's take this space and they get that smoke down, 4v4 retake, really difficult for us CTs because we can only retake from here and from cave entrance and maybe a ramp flank. And both of these are just tight little choke points that are easily smoked off. Stay alive. Don't let the T's take this space and smoke off game ender. That makes the round almost impossible for us to win. So what does all of this actually mean for how you're going to play B? If you're alone a lot, right, which you should be, then you're going to be playing long a lot, which means you're going to be starting with this util set. And after you expend that util to clear top ramp early, how should you play? Earlier in the round, when you still have your smoke, you can play towards slant. You can jump spot this, go for little jiggle peeks. You can peek just the boost and see if anybody's up there, right? Peek this, peek this, peek this, nobody, and then peek out here. Okay, nobody. This is a spot where you need to be sure that you're info peeking or you're actually peeking. Because if you're doing just like brainless, just boom, 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 like you're swinging out wide enough to take a fight, but you're not actually just jiggling or info peeking, then you could just get owned by somebody who just hits a good timing and has a crosshair placement, boom, you're dead, and then they have B. So make sure that you're decisive, right? Am I peeking? I'm peeking, I'm looking for a kill, I get a kill. Or am I just looking for info, right? Which one are you doing? From here, one really good flash to know is the bucket flash. This is the god flash for your mid players and for your cave players to swing down towards bottom B. Every B anchor should know about this flash. There's no lineup. You can throw it from literally anywhere on B. It's the easiest flash of all time. You just send it over bucket and boom, people bottom B are blind and your shelf players can swing. Tell your teammates, hey, I can flash shelf for you if you want to peek down. One big thing you need to be worried about when you're playing long is just the boost, right? If a T gets an op up on T side ancient, like 50% of the time, they're just going to ask for a boost. Maybe 90%. I don't know. It is so often. Somebody gets an op, their brain immediately goes boost, boost, boost me, man, boost me, man. And they get boosted. So if you know the T's can have an op, then like jump spotting here is kind of sketchy and just like jiggling this angle can be quite sketchy. In that case, it's better to just commit over to the left side and then you're more so committed into the fight. That's the advantage of them having an op on boost. You can also just flash over, like you don't need a very good flash, boom, and then you just jump across. and avoid that AWPer. Another option is playing from short. Short is more so like a get one and then get out type spot. There's a really nice off angle right here, where if you hold this, this is right where T's are going to, right here. They're walking up, maybe they clear short, they're looking here, and then this is right when they're going to look over towards cubby, which makes it a really nice spot to get one or even two if both T's are somewhat distracted. And then you can commit out and commit into cave, or you could just leave via short. Now, if you have an M4 and you're playing short right here, this is not a great fight for you, to be honest, because you're giving the T's a headshot angle with AKs. Whereas, right, you have an M4, you're gonna have to double dink them. They just need one tap. Not an amazing spot. It can be decent to just like spot ramp and just see if anybody's coming up. And then you could just give space and then play off the info that, hey, they're coming up ramp. Otherwise, I would avoid short for the most part, unless you're opping. It can be a decent op angle, playing game helper right here, or playing closer to short right here. Bang, you get out. Decent op angle, but not a great one to rifle on. One spot that's high risk, high reward that you can play within the site, whether you're alone or if you have a teammate with you, is towards top ramp. Patrolling this area can be quite the nuisance for T's, because as they walk up ramp, let's say they're contacting, right, they're going to be worried about long, they're going to be worried about short, they're going to be worried about pillar. And if you notice my crosshair, if somebody's top ramp, that crosshair is at their knees or at their ankles, and you can get a pretty easy kill just boom swinging on a good timing. It is risky, but some advantages to this is that if somebody rotates in or you start the round 2B, it's really easy for somebody to flash over ramp for you to just get a swing in, right? Bang, and then you're swinging, you're clearing this, all good. This is a really good spot too to play if the T's are playing heavy for middle and for shelf control, because that means typically you're probably just looking at 1 or 0 T's here bottom ramp. If the T's are consistently like walking up ramp or just sitting bottom ramp holding it, maybe not the best idea. However, if the T's are playing for mid, then playing close ramp allows you to instantly take this ramp space in exchange for that mid space, right? So if the T's are like splitting up shelf, they're running up shelf, they're going out elbow, then as a reaction, you can walk down ramp and clear all the space and make sure nobody's down here. And then the T's are kind of stuffed in, right? Maybe they take mid, but now you guys have ramp control. Now you guys maybe have donut or A main control. Right now we're playing for the extremities. It can be a cool place to play. One thing you can do too, especially if you swing, you get a kill, is just left and right click a flash high behind you. It's, you know, obviously really reactable, but if a T is right here, right, they have to stare at it or they have to turn, and you can swing as it pops or even before it pops. A good piece of util to know down here too is a door smoke. So I just look at these shadows at this middle one and on the left side of it and just do a little W run throw at that shadow, and then boom, doors is smoked. And that leads me to using your smoke. How should you be using your smoke as a B anchor? One rule is don't instantly use it. B, the entrance to B is not a part of the map where you want to just like smoke it over and over and over again, because you don't get to do that. You're alone on B, so your one smoke is a very important smoke. You can't just smoke this at the beginning of the round, because then, you know, 20 seconds pass and the T's can just walk up B. You should try using your smoke reactively. And what I mean by this is that maybe you're jump spotting long, you see somebody, maybe you see 2 or 3 people, and then you drop your smoke just against this pillar, and boom, you're smoking top ramp off. You don't want to instantly use your smoke, because it is important that you're able to delay and execute, block and execute, or block people trying to contact up. The other reason for this is that if you're smoking ramp off rip and your cave player, you know, maybe gets mollied off and just fully has to give up cave, and the T's are fully out mid, oh shit, they're out mid, then by you smoking ramp, you are denying yourself the opportunity to take ramp space, unless you want to push through the smoke, but that's pretty awkward, right? So hold your smoke, use it reactively. If you're up here towards this bit, then you can throw it against this. Wow, that bounced super, unfortunately. Then you can throw it against this bit of pillar. And if you're back here, then you can throw it against the blue bit. And boom, there you have a safe ramp smoke. Another reason you may want to hold on to your smoke is because if the T's take jag, let's say they kill your B cave player, and then boom, they're in here and they're taking cave and they're all up in your business, then you may want to react by smoking cave off. The reason for this is then boom, you block this part of the split, right? We're assuming that they're going to try to split B. You smoke this off, and then you can force the fights against ramp, right? Maybe they're 3 in jag and then 2 ramp, and you can force these fights against ramp and then come back here and focus on cave. Hold your smoke. It's a really, really important part of being a B anchor. Don't insta smoke ramp. Don't smoke ramp for no reason. Maybe if you have a read, if it's quiet across the map and you feel like the B smokes are about to come in, then you can smoke ramp, but hold on to it, play reactively, play smart. smart with your smoke, otherwise it's just a complete waste. Some random small tips and tricks for B site that I'm just going to rapid fire. One is that if you're long and you have your other B player just jiggling this and then the T's flood in, you can very easily flash cave just at the corner of this rock. Boom. And then your cave player can swing with that. When you're playing towards bucket, you have to be really mindful about how you're standing, because if you are pointed outwards like this, right, just kind of holding the angle, then your knee is going to pop through on this angle. Bang, I can see that CT bot without having to peek long. So instead of this, you can play this angle like this and just hold like this. And then boom, you see on the edge of my screen over there under my face cam, I can see if the T's walk up and I can just swing off of my long player's contact, or just wait, watch them, they walk up, and then boom, I'm swinging when I feel like it's the right timing. Visually, this is what it looks like when you're looking at the wall, right, and you're tucked. Boom, for me to see this player, I have to scale out this way, right? I can see them around here, but now I'm exposed to long. That way, you are playing the crossfire, where as T's walk up, they have to peek this, and then boom, you can see them and you can peek them from cubby. Towards long, and this is typically better when you're opping, but it could be good anti-eco, is if you get boosted right here, boom, you have this really cheeky angle down towards ramp. If you know the T's are on like a shit buy, then doing this against a B rush can be good. However, if they have a deagle, then maybe, you know, you're giving them a fight that they want. However, on buy versus buy rounds, getting an opper up here, boom, they post right here, really nice fight for them. So a quick little recap. Early round, we need to deny the rush. Mid round, we need to either be playing for retake from long or short, or we need to be committed into taking some sort of space like ramp or doubling cave with our cave player, or we can play in sight if we have help and we can set up some sort of crossfire or some nice little flash setup where we can actually play off of each other and deny and execute. Late round, let's talk about playing for retake, because that is a huge part of playing B, as we've discussed. Now, if you get into this spot right here, this little cubby, then from here, if you aim in the middle of this big gray blotch on the stone and left and right click jump throw, you get a really nice cave smoke that is going to be pretty tucked in and help you retake. You can also molly both bomb plant spots, right? That typically they're going to plant here, or they're going to plant here if they're playing for long. If you left and right click jump throw, you look at this, you know, triangle, bottom right of it, left and right click jump throw your molly, boom. This is going to cover both spots. You can also follow that molly up with a nade if you do that jump throw, and then you aim. I look at this hump just down right here, left click throw. This nade is going to do about 30-25 to both spots. Combined with the molly, right, slows them down, does a ton of damage. If you more so want to wing it, then as the T's are getting out cave, they're planning default, right, short is smoked. If you just throw util off of this wall, then it's going to land towards the default bomb plant spot, and you can deny the plant that way. You can also smoke ramp by getting into this spot again and looking at this rock and left and right click jump throwing. This smoke is going to land somewhat shallow, and you might be thinking, oh, that feels a little spooky. But the point of this is to deny this spot right here, so T's can't play off of their teammates and swing out from ramp, right? A more shallow smoke that lands right here gives T's space in front of it to play this spot to hold short and to swing long off of their teammates, maybe pillar or cubby. And lastly, you can flash from this spot as well. Same lineup as the molly, just left and right click jump throw your flash. You can also look at this little bit and right click jump throw your flash for a shallower pop flash for cave. You throw that flash, boom, they're going to get blinded by this, and your teammates can swing out long. Next, let's talk about the B anchor's partner in crime, the cave player. I say cave player, but really this is the jag player. So if you skipped past the callouts part, I call this jag and this area here cave. And the biggest difference between low elo and higher elo cave players is that in lower elo, cave players play for this space. This space is very important, but you have to be able to fight for Jaguar control. If you don't have this control, then it enables T's to easily split mid, which is very uncomfortable for your mid players. And once the T's have mid, then they can come back and they can take cave away from you. And being in this place and just committing into this area early in the round is really disadvantageous. It's very awkward. It's very easily cleared by util and by trading. So play for Jaguar. You are the Jaguar player. I'm going to still call you cave player, but be aggressive. And we're going to talk about how to play for the space in this section. This is the spot I play, so I'm probably going to talk a lot about it. It's maybe my most favorite position in the entire game of Counter-Strike because it is so aggressive, it is so fast, and it's really util dependent. You have to be good at using your util, and it's also really spawn dependent. So there's a lot of different factors that go into playing this position well. I'm going to talk about how different spawn positions affect what you should do and what util you should throw, but in general, you need to know this one set in order to be a decent cave player. It raises the floor for you so much if you know this util. So you're going to come around, you're going to left and right click, and I aim at this, just top of this splotch right here on the wood, and I left and right click jump throw right as I pass this section. And this is your shelf molly. Now, this molly will do damage if they don't smoke it, but typically tees are going to smoke it. And that is amazing for us because one, the tees have one less smoke, and two, it's an alarm system. Because if you're committing into Jag and you hear them smoke that molly, boom, you know that they're probably going to be fighting you for Jag control, which gives you that heads up like, hey, I gotta be ready, I gotta fight, and also can dictate what util you're gonna throw next, right? Because you're anticipating the fight. Throw that molly. Super, super important. For damage, you're gonna follow that molly up with a shelf nade, and all you're gonna do is you're gonna throw that molly, immediately get your nade out, and then you're going to left click run throw in a smooth motion around this corner. You want the nade to bounce off of this part of the rock. So you throw your molly, you left click throw your nade right around there. Now, this is a nade that does a shit ton of damage if the tees are committing up shelf, but it's kind of tricky to throw. So I really recommend you to just jump into an offline server and just get this util down, because holy schmoly, is it powerful. The other big benefit of this nade is that even if the tees smoke this molly, right, they're going to be slowed down by that nade, which improves your timing into Jag to take these fights against the shelf players. And this position, like I said, is really timing dependent. You don't want to get blocked by your B player. You want to get here as fast as possible, which means that when you throw this util, you want it to be in a really smooth and quick motion where you don't have to stop, boom, you throw it, and then bang, you're already here. Because this role is so timing and util dependent, you have to be really locked in at spawn at the beginning of the round to know what you're going to do and what you're going to buy. This is a role where you should be prioritizing util over an M4. If you can only afford an M4 and armor or an MP9 full build of util and armor, go for the MP9. Maybe if you have the very worst spawn and you're planning on not playing shelf at all or not throwing any util towards shelf, then you can go M4, but you need util. It's just that important. In terms of spawns, these two spawns right here, these first two, are the god spawns. They are so good, and they are so good because your timing allows you to throw some different util. So if you have this very first spawn, your timing is so good that you can skip the molly, run up, throw your HE, get into cave early, and dump your molly right here, boom, and then you're swinging with this. That way, you let the tees up, but bang, you block them right here, which stuffs them in a really awkward spot where now your teammates can jump up. Now you can swing them from here, right? Their cave take is really delayed now, or they're going to commit into it and run through the molly and give you really easy fights. And you can do that exact same thing, but vice versa. You can throw your molly shelf. That way you get, right, that alarm. Are they up? Are they not? And then if they smoke that molly, then you dump your nade and boom, you're swinging with that nade and you can get these kills here. Now that is optional to do, right? You don't have to do that. You can just throw the default shelf molly plus nade. With the third spawn and fourth spawn, you should be doing the default shelf molly plus nade. Otherwise, you just don't have the timing to throw a piece of util once you get into Jaguar. And then with this fifth spawn, your timing is just so bad that typically you should play out of Jag unless you have your B anchor throw the shelf molly for you. And then if you don't hear them smoke it, then you can take Jag because you know that they're not coming up to fight you on that first timing. Some other util for you to throw is this bounce flash and this bounce nade. These are better for, I would say third or fourth, I would say actually is best. You kind of path around this way, so then you have a better angle, and then I aim typically around this big spot right here, and then boom, that's going to nade right at the entrance. Now, if you're fighting Jag with one of the bad spawns, then a flash you can throw is just bouncing it against this, and then boom, you can swing with that, right? So if the tees are already up and you're late into this fight and they're holding you, this flash allows you to take this fight much more comfortably. The problem is that this entrance is so small that even if they get blinded, it's pretty easy for them to spam back. So decent flash, but can be pretty meh if the tees are aware of the timing and have their crosshair already on the spot. Now, in terms of pathing for how you want to fight this area, once you throw this util, it depends what you're throwing in here, right? If you're throwing this flash, they should be typically chilling around this entrance right here, so then you're not blinded by the flash. If you're throwing something like this where you're bouncing it, they should path this way and then wide swing off of this flash popping. And if you're not throwing anything, then you should be scaling out towards this right side. And the reason for that is because most of the utilities are going to throw into cave is going to be on this side of Jag. Sorry, cave, Jag, I use them interchangeably sometimes. They're going to bounce a nade this way or a molly this way, and you want to be out this way. This is also a really nice fight for you because playing up here is kind of weird crosshair position for the T's. It's like a little bit of an off angle, right? If they're holding this back wall, then you're going to be like up here rather than like right here, right? So on top of this rock is a really nice little off angle for you to play. Something for you to remember is that this wall is very wall bangable. Something for you to remember is that this wall is very wall bangable. So if you take a fight here, let's say you tag this T up and then they like duck back behind this wall, you can keep spamming it and confirm that kill without even seeing them. So there's the early round. We talked about how to slow the T's down with the shelf util, how to take fights within Jaguar. Now let's talk about the mid round, right? We throw the shelf util, we take this space, and now we're chilling. What do we do? Well, the answer is it depends. As a cave player, your role is tied to your middle players. If your middle players don't take middle, right? They're not smoking elbow, they're not getting down mid, they're giving middle completely for free for the T's, then staying in Jag, staying here is super sketchy because you could get peeked from this left side, you can get peeked from this right side, both sides can throw a util at you without you being able to peek them. Really spooky. So if your mid players are playing really passive, then you can fight cave, fight Jag early, but you typically have to give up the control in the mid round unless maybe you're doubled and you can play a setup like having one person in this corner and another holding this angle, right? This default angle right here, and then this player can swing off of this player taking a fight. Something early in the round and in the mid round you're going to be facing a lot is a smoke into cave right about here. This is awkward, right? It blocks you. It doesn't let you take fights. You have to be able to predict that the T's are going to do this because often teams like will just have somebody who just defaults this every round in a pug and it's super annoying, but there are plays you can make around this. So one thing you can do is throw your smoke out this way. And then boom, this creates a lurky smoke that allows you to walk through it towards ramp, right? If you feel like the timing is right, or you can walk through it towards shelf and kill these guys who are splitting mid up shelf from behind them. Alternatively, you can save your HE nade and you can nade this cave smoke, right? You get up here and then maybe you just nade it like this. And then boom, you're fighting behind it and you're looking for these guys who are running up shelf. And of course you can spam it, right? Spamming is totally fine, especially if you can get like little holes of being able to see into shelf. Remember that this wall too is very wall bangable. So if you hear the T's up shelf, you can spam them through this wall and essentially draw a line like right about here where like, hey, if you cross this, you might just die. Another option for you if they're smoking cave a lot is to play for ramp, right? If you know that they're smoking cave and they're splitting mid every round, then you can throw your default shelf utility, pretend like you're playing cave, and instead of going towards cave, you can just start walking ramp. And maybe you and your B player can walk down this way and take a 2v1 towards doors, or you smoke doors, and then you guys have this space, and while you're granting that shelf and middle space, you are taking control of ramp, allowing you to kill these shelf players and play B from ramp. Also, if you want to nade it, or if you see the smoke already land, you can throw this nade that I showed earlier, and this is going to pop open the smoke for you, and so you can fight shelf like that. You just have to pay attention to your molly, right? If they smoke the molly, then you should throw that nade. If they don't smoke the molly and you don't hear them burning through it, then no need to throw the nade because they're not going to be there. Now, let's say you throw your shelf util, they don't smoke it, they're not fighting it, your team gets down mid, we have mid, all is good. What do we do now? Well, one option that's a bit more passive is to just block shelf off like this. When you throw this smoke, it makes it really awkward for T's because now they have to push the smoke if they want any shelf space. And if they push it, then now they're exposed to cave as well. And you have a nice little crossfire with your shelf player or with somebody who's down here bottom mid. Once you have cave and you're able to block shelf with a smoke like that, then you can go for some really cheeky spams. One is from this corner, you get into here and then you aim, you see where the shadow reaches here, just a bit down from that in the middle of this wood part. And this is going to spam bottom ramp, anybody chilling here holding shelf. You can also swing out this way. If you get towards the right side of the shadow, right, like right about here, then aim middle of the shadow up this way then you can spam bottom ramp, you can spam armpit right here, and that's going to get you some free damage and some free kills. One more spam you should know is for this spot up here, right? If anybody is just chilling here, waiting, trying to swing you, if you swing out, then you can just get into the middle of this orange tarp and just spam right here. Just aim up a little bit because they're going to be upwards of you, and boom, you're going to spam them out. Now, a huge advantage of taking Jag early is that you can get aggressive in fighting down bottom ramp. And of course you need mid control for this, but if you have mid control, you have Jag, then you can fight down here. It's a bit tricky without a door smoke because then anybody can just swing off of you shooting or swing off of the sound of a flash. However, it's still, you know, a pretty good option. You can flash for yourself from here. You just get against this back wall and aim at the left side of this, very loosey-goosey. And this flash is going to drop down here next to bucket and blind anybody here bottom ramp, or even anybody here in bucket holding this. Now let's say you take Jag early and you block off shelf like this, but then you hear bang bang, flashes out mid, oh shit, your mid players are scared. You can swing out this way and just aim at the top of this big blank splotch right here and just left click throw a flash. And this is one that you can swing with because it pops right down here by the box. So any T's out here in elbow have to turn this or just have to eat it, and you can swing with it and get some easy kills and help your mid players fight mid. Now in the mid round, if you're able to take Jag and your teammates still have mid and you can just sit here and wait for a fight, then a couple good options for you is one, play this annoying angle up here. Just be moving, be schmoving. It's a really obnoxious fight for T's because they have to left eye peek it, and they're forced into peeking closer to the wall than you are. By its nature, it's a very advantageous angle to play on. Another option is playing in this corner. Now, I would say you should never just tuck in this corner unless you have a huge positional advantage. Like you have a teammate here, they die, and you're confident the T's aren't going to clear you because you think the T's assumed that Jag and cave is open now. Otherwise, you should be timing out peaks. Now, as this cave player, you are the second B player, so you can't get too locked in on playing Jag every single round. You still have to be helpful on the B site. And sometimes that is just taking Jag and keeping that cave control for the entire round. But sometimes that's also assisting your B player or coming back to your B player in the mid round and helping them hold site by getting into a nice setup. So one example of this is reacting to a B rush, right? Maybe you throw your shelf util, you're getting up here, it'll typically be around this space, and then you hear your B player call, they're rushing B. One thing you can do is just bank flashes right here for your B player if they're long. That way, boom, right? Maybe they're fighting right here, and any T's swinging up this way have to eat these flashes if they want to fight your long player. Another option is to do a very similar, essentially the same flash, but swing out with it, right? You can throw a right click run through a flash like that, boom, and just fight ramp with your long player as well. If you get smoked cave, right? Let's say the T's smoke off cave at the beginning of the round and they're rushing B with that, then one thing you can do too to help, if you didn't use your molly on shelf, is to molly long or nade into long to help prevent the T's from taking that long space. Now, typically you won't have your molly to use, right? Because you're using it on shelf. So another option is to smoke outside of cave as a lurk smoke. That way you apply a lot of pressure on these T's because boom, look how awkward this is, right? If you're cave and the T's are taking long, now you can push this way, you can push out this way, you can walk out this way and go through short. It makes it really uncomfortable for these T's as they get up sight, and you can react to the bomb plant, right? Maybe they tap bomb, boom, you're right here, instantly denying the bomb plant. Now, if they're not smoking you cave and they're trying to take long, then just playing the crossfire with your long teammate can often be the best solution, especially if your long player is up towards this cubby, or maybe they're playing this first cubby here. That way you guys have this crossfire and you can just deny this space together and play off of each other. Typically, you should let your long player take first contact. You should kind of bait them a little bit, because if you take first contact right here, right, your long player really can't do much to help you. But if your long player takes first contact, then you can swing off them and you're almost guaranteed to be able to take the same fight that they're taking. Now, if the T's take B at the very beginning of the round, let's say they just insta-kill your B player, then just maintaining this cave space and not dying will be your best bet, especially if you have players who are able to cross this way and get back into this area and fight for long. Then keeping cave is really a solid option. One cool flash that you can throw to help you keep cave space is if you left and right click at the top left of this rock, then you can swing with this and it won't blind you because it pops below the lip, but any T out here is going to get full blinded by this and not be able to dodge it. As a cave player, you should know how to spam this wall in order to deny the default bomb plant. So if T's are planting right here, all you have to do to spam this is look up through this top window. You see the edge of default, that gives you a guide of where to aim. and you aim just above this box right here, and then boom, planter right here, bang, dead, easy, free. Another spam that's good on retakes is spamming towards the cubby, right? Often T's will tuck in here and play off their teammate's contact. From cave, you just get into here, then you just spam in the middle, aim downwards a bit because of the elevation, and anybody tucked in here is going to get owned by the spam. One more option for you if the T's are taking B is to play retake, but to go for ramp control rather than going for cave control, right? If the T's are blocking cave, then it's unlikely they're going to aggress in this space anyways because they're going to be playing for long. So instead, you can fight for ramp and look for this space and get down ramp, right? And then retake from here. That way you are retaking from one of the 2 places that the T's can actually play for. If you can't play Jag, you're not able to take control of Jag and you can't play up here, and you're forced into playing in this cave space, how should you play? Well, your default go-to spot should be a more passive looking for info type position at this cave entrance, where here you could react off of sound or just time out peaks and just own anybody who's just standing idly on this angle. This is one of those angles where whoever is holding it should typically be losing the fight because it is just a very harsh on angle, right? You should have your crosshair placement dialed in for this angle. So don't stand here and just hold it. Time out peaks instead. Unless you are opping, that's where you could just sit here, bang, get a shot and fall off. So when you're rifling this, you can stand here, time out peaks, see if you get a fight here. If you see somebody and you want to block, you can bounce your smoke off of this wooden bit and boom, that's going to block off the entrance to cave. Alternatively, if you want to preemptively smoke this, right? You're not jiggling, you don't see somebody, you can run through your smoke like this. You can, risk it and see somebody and then run through that smoke and throw it like that. But typically you should throw that before you see people. You just know that they took Jag and you want to block this. The reason why is that this smoke is much better than the smoke that I showed before. This one's just safer, which is nice. But this one applies a lot of pressure on T's in Jag and on shelf because it is so lurky, right? As the smoke fades, you could be in this corner. You could be right here. You could be right here. You could be over here. And you can also flash a teammate in if you left and right click at the top of this mark right here. Boom, this bounces, bang, and then it's going to blind any T's here playing in Jag holding this angle. Throwing this smoke applies more pressure on T's and gives you the option to try and retake this Jag space after the smoke fades. You can play these cheeky angles close and cave. However, these are positions that are easy to molly, right? This is a CT molly. T molly can cover all of these. They're also easy to clear because if a T comes here and they molly's pillar and then other T's are walking through, they can clear these angles one by one, right? They can clear this, walk up, clear this, clear this, clear this, and then clear this. There are no really hardcore great crossfires here. These are all pretty much one and done angles. So I would say the best place to play in this area is on top of this box where you can move on top of this and down here. That way your head is going up and down when these T's peak, and you can probably catch a timing where they're peeking out and maybe they peek this, but then they skip this part and they try to clear this, and then boom, you get that kill. But in general, you should be playing towards the cave entrance or play one of these spots if you have a teammate who can play cave entrance for you. That way the T's are going to see that cave entrance player. Maybe they speed up and try to catch them, and then boom, you're in one of these annoying little spots here, and then this player, right, can duck, hide, and then swing off of you fighting in one of these close spots, and they have really easy free kills right here. So that's Jag and cave. Be aggressive. Don't give T's the free space. Throw the shelf util. It is so freaking important. Learn it, get comfy with it, and throw it. It is so good. Let's move on to how to play middle. And when we talk about playing middle, we have to talk about elbow smokes because it is so important that we know the elbow smokes, or else it's going to be really hard to take mid control. And if we can't take mid control, then our cave player can't stick around and Jag for too long. And then boom, we're just losing so much map control and we're forced onto sitting onto sites, which is what happens in so many ancient games in Premiere and in Faceit because people don't know their util. And so the map is boring as hell if you don't know the util, but you're a good player and you're going to learn the elbow smokes, which I'm going to show you now. Now, there are a lot of different lineups for these elbow smokes, right? There are 5 spawns, so you only have to learn 5. I know it sounds like a lot, but you'll get used to it. I have my own lineups that I made. There are a ton of guides out on YouTube too, so if you don't like mine, then just go find other people's. Now, the spawns in this practice map are 4, 3, 5, 2, 1, but I just call this 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 5th. Whoa, 4th, 5th. I've skipped a number. So let's start with spawn number 1. You're going to spawn in, and then you're going to aim at this U shape. I aim at the top left of this right side of it, and then just a little shift walk, left click jump throw. That's all it is, and that's going to be the same for all of the different spawns. Now, second spawn, this is where we get into my system. I aim for the dark smudges. So the second spawn is the first dark smudge. It's this brick. This is the only one that's not on the right side. It's just off the right side a little bit. So you can see this one right here, off a little bit, about right there. And then a little shift walk and left click jump throw. And there we go. There's the second spawn, elbow smoke. Now on to the third spawn. We can see there's that dark brick we did for the second spawn. Now we're going to go for the next dark brick, right side of it, just shift walk and then left click jump throw. There's number 3. Boom. There we go. Beautiful. Let's go for fourth spawn. I know this is pretty boring, but god damn it, is it important. So there's our old brick, right? That's spawn 3. Now we move on to the next dark brick, right side, shift walk, left click, jump throw. Wow, there's a beautiful elbow smoke. It's getting a bit repetitive, huh? Boom, bang, bish, bash, bosh, beautiful smoke. And now we're on to our fifth and final spawn. You see this was number 4 right here. Number 5 is this dark brick, right side of it, shift walk, left click, jump throw. That's gonna land an elbow, and now you have elbow smokes. Thank God we're done with that. Now, a note is that I'm sure there are some lineups that get a bit deeper for all of them. Some of mine, I would say 2 or 3 of them plume out a little bit this way. I just remember those. Those are what I like to throw. I don't mind a little bit of plumage on the smokes, but if you want to look for other ones, then go for it. Who cares? As long as elbow smoked, I'm happy. But you do not want to smoke elbow like this or like this. These smokes are terrifying. They're horrifying. They're scary. I hate this. This provides so much space for the T's to pop through the smoke, bang, bang, bang. And instead of a little entrance for us to hold, now we have so much space to hold. Along with this, it's really easy for T's to nade these smokes, right? They could just nade this and then boom, and they're clearing all of mid like that. Do not throw these smokes. These smokes are fucking terrible. Do not throw this. I would rather just not have this and just peek elbow dry or with a flash and then smoke deep elbow than be throwing this off rip. Okay, for you lazy bones players who don't want to learn the instant elbows and who don't have teammates who are going to throw them for you, one solution, one thing you can do, which is a bit worse, but it still works, is molly elbow. And this is how you do it. You just run through red, you swing out towards this left side around the door, and then you aim at the tip of this, and then you're going to run, left click, throw your molly. So I'll show you that one more time in one smooth motion. You go through red around the left side, molly out, hold W, and then boom, you're throwing that elbow molly. The problem with this is that because CT mollies are tiny now, T's have a gap to hold this cross still. So you have to flash it off. You have to get them off the angle or just smoke the molly safely from back here. The other issue is that you're expending a molly early that you don't have to use towards bottom mid. So you're relying on your teammate to use their molly, and then maybe you guys double nade bottom mid to prevent the early timing, which we're going to talk more about soon. If you're lazy and you don't want to learn the elbow smokes, at least know that molly so you have something to deny elbow with. One cheeky play you can make with this molly if you don't think the T's are going to get out fast is you can molly elbow, and then from around here you can just nade behind the molly, right? Boom. And T's, they see this molly, it's not a smoke, right? So they're going to be right behind it looking to see if they can take a peek. Ooh, can I kill somebody running down mid? And then bang, you just bonk them on the head with a 50 damage nade. So there's the elbow utility, right? All 5 instant smokes along with a molly into elbow. That's how you can deny elbow early. But how is mid actually structured? In team play CS, for the most part, the AWPer is responsible for throwing elbow smokes. That way, both of the mid riflers have their timing to get down mid quickly. However, in pugs where the structure is way looser, typically if you know all elbow smokes, you should just be throwing them. Even if it messes up your timing towards mid, you just have to communicate with your other mid players that, hey, you guys have to throw the early denial util. CT Ancient, like I mentioned in the default section, is pretty fluid. You don't have an A anchor on A every single round. You don't have somebody in donut every single round. You don't have somebody in red every single round, or else you're playing Ancient wrong, right? Some rounds you want a 3-man fight for mid. Some rounds you want to play more passive and maybe have an AWPer on A, 3 towards B, and a rifler in donut. You want to throw out different setups. That makes it really weird for me to make this kind of video. However, we're going to assume that we have 2 riflers running down mid, and I'm going to talk about you being one of them, and then an opper maybe helping you guys or just floating around the map. As a mid rifler, your first job is to deny the mid rush, which means expending util at the beginning of the round. So one mistake that people do is that they get their util out, they come up here, and then they throw their first piece of util. Instead, you can throw your molly earlier. So right as you get into red, you turn this corner, your molly out, you're going to aim right up here. This is going to bounce against the back wall, and then you can nade into this molly, and you're going to jump out, and boom, there we go. We have a blocking molly and a nade right into the molly in case they smoke it, or if they don't smoke it, they're just going to be dead because they're slowed and they take the damage from the HE. If you and your teammate are doing double mollies, or you're behind your teammate and you see them throw a molly, feel free to throw a second molly. Just make sure it's not stacked on top of the first one, or else it's kind of redundant, right? Because if they smoke one, then they're going to smoke both. Your pathing as you get out of red is going to be really important, right? So we're dropping util early. One way you can go is for the donut jump. You just get out here, run along the ledge, jump out this way. And as you're getting down mid, it's about this section, once you're at the bottom of the stairs, where you should start being anti-flash, because the timing isn't there yet for somebody to be out elbow unless you're like 5th spawn and you threw the elbow smoke and you're really late to mid. The timing isn't there for them to be out, but the timing is there for somebody to be throwing an early flash. So you throw your util through red, and then you're out. You're jumping across, you're looking downwards, you're playing anti-flash, and if you hear these flashes come over and you feel like they're out mid, then you can just bank a flash here and swing off of this. What you should also be throwing in is a flash towards elbow as well, right? You can get out all 3 if you're throwing your molly, your nade, and your flash. Boom, 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 flash, and then I'm jumping up, and then bang, I'm down, and then I'm swinging down. The reason for the flash is because people will like to sit outside the elbow smoke, especially an op play is the elbow smoke is right here. They sit on the very edge of it right here, and they're looking for a pick bang, and then they fall back into the smoke. And that can be done with a rifle as well, obviously. But, right, we want to flash this off so they can't make that kind of play, and they can't just sit in this cubby and just wait for you to swing down mid. So, pathing-wise, right, we're throwing our util, maybe we get a flash out, we throw one more flash, we're getting down. If it's all chill, right, no flashes, no red smoke, we're chilling, then we can scale this way against this wall and just hard clear this cubby, right? Because we have this elbow smoke down. Once we're down, the biggest worry of ours, boom, is this cubby. So, hard clear this, and then you can look towards shelf or do whatever you want to do. In general, avoid jumping into cubby. It's a fine anti-rush spot, but it's not a spot you want to be in every single round. It's very easily mollied by T's. So avoid jumping cubby early. There's also the fact that if you don't have a great spawn or don't have a great timing, you could just get caught jumping into cubby. The goal of taking mid and getting down middle is to be able to fight shelf, right? This map kind of runs through shelf. This is the most important space to fight and to play for. So what that means is that if you can get towards jump up and jump up quick and take these fights, you're golden. That is awesome. Do it, right? Except T's aren't going to let you do that for free every single round, right? They're probably going to be mollying this jump up space. If they're throwing mollies at it, then you're going to have to delay this, and you have to pay very close attention. Is my cave player fighting for shelf? Because if you have an inept cave player who's not doing anything, maybe every single round they're just sitting here, they get no info and they're not fighting, then you're susceptible to getting split. You're susceptible to getting split on mid every single round. And holding a mid split, playing into a mid split is really awkward. You need 3 people at least to keep mid against a mid split, and even that can be tricky, which is why if you can be a really good cave player and throw the shelf util and fight for jag every round, you're going to be golden. Or if you can be a really good mid player and throw elbow smoke every round, you're going to be golden, because that is so hugely beneficial. Ancient is a tricky map because there's util that makes it really hard to play this map without elbow smokes and shelf util, right? If you don't have those, then Ancient is really tricky. So learn them. That's my biggest message of this video. Learn elbow smokes and learn shelf util. One thing to pay attention to as a mid player when you're getting aggressive is what kind of molly are the T's throwing at jump up, right? Sometimes they're going to throw a terrible molly and they're just going to run through it at the jump up, and you don't even have to smoke this. You don't even have to worry about it. Sometimes it's going to be on the box like this. And when this happens, if you notice that the molly isn't extending up to shelf very well, it's not landing up here, what you can do is just smoke this molly and fight for shelf. right? Boom, you're up. And these shelf players aren't expecting you to be fighting immediately because they probably ask their elbow player, hey, can you molly jump up? And then boom, you're up and you're killing these T's as they're running up here knife out because they're trying to get the timing on cave. Disrespect bad jump up mollies. It is really easy to just smoke that and jump up and fight. In terms of where you want to be positioned after you take mid, if you can't get up jump up, then having one player against this back wall right here who can look towards shelf and help this cave player with their shelf fights, and then having one player back over here who can hold elbow and take these fights. This way, if the T's flash out elbow, then this player against the close wall, this one, is holding here, boom, the flash pops, they're not blind, so that they can swing off of that sound. And this player here who's holding this angle, they get blind, but then they can duck and play safe, and then this one swings. However, you need shelf. If your cave player doesn't have shelf, you have 0 info shelf, you shouldn't really stick around mid at all. Unless you can jump up and take shelf for free, take shelf for yourself, don't sit here. You're just gonna get split on. If you're playing with a duo, then one thing you can run is a fast boost onto shelf if you don't feel good about this jump. You just have them stand around these rocks down here because of the elevation difference. I can go knife out and just jump straight on their head and boom, I'm instantly up shelf. This is really good, especially when the T's are throwing really bad jump up mollies and the molly doesn't extend up to shelf at all, then I won't take any damage and I have a great timing to fight down bottom B. If you can take shelf, then you can play an even closer to mid setup where you have a player up on shelf who can control this space, and you can have another player really close to elbow, right? Either right here in this cubby or playing over here in this cubby. And the benefit of that is that most T flashes for mid are going to be these ones. These are just the bread and butter flashing over mid for T's. If you have somebody close elbow like this, these flashes will not blind them at all, and it'll make it really awkward for T's to get out of this elbow smoke. And then having somebody on shelf too is just so freaking good and powerful. Oops. Similar to the cave player, if you want to fight down bottom B, you can ask your B player, hey, flash over bucket, flash for me. And if they're no coming and they don't want to do that, then you can flash for yourself. You just get over in this direction, look at this bit of the door, and it's a little run through right there. And that's the similar flash to the one I showed at cave, right? Which is just like right here. It doesn't blind you because it turns around the corner for bucket. And so anybody here bottom B, right, you can swing before it, but they're going to get blinded by it. Obviously, you have to make sure you're doing this when you know that nobody is in front in this direction right here, right? Another thing to note is that if your cave player is, you know, throwing the shelf util, often T's are going to smoke this molly on shelf. And if this is smoked, this is pretty nice because boom, now you can, you know, have a smoke to hold and you can focus on elbow a bit more. But one cheeky play you can make too is just nading the smoke, because T's are going to trust it way too much and you can get some free kills down here at bottom B. Sometimes, even if your Jag player is playing aggressively and trying to shut this down, they're just going to get blocked, right? They're going to get smoked. Maybe they're going to be facing a Brolin molly right here. They might not be able to have a say in the matter in terms of denying shelf space from T's. So when that happens, as CTs, we need to react. And we need to grant some space towards middle, otherwise we're just going to get pinched. So what that can look like is having a player in donut who can spot this cross right here. We can have one player in red who can blow this red smoke open with a nade whenever they would like to. And we can have a player over here anchoring A and making sure the T's aren't walking out A or, you know, executing A. So let's talk about playing a bit more passively, and we can start with the donut player. Towards donut, you can play more aggressively, like up here, and swing off of your own flashes, or let your red player take contact and then you swing off of them. Or you can play a bit more passive where you can sit back and you can jiggle this angle right here. You can bonk, 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 bonk. And this gives you vision into mid to see if somebody crosses. And if you want to be really passive about this, you can look for info, you see somebody, and then you just block donut. So then they can't take this space from you. You can play a bit more ratty in the back of donut. I would only do this if you still have your smoke. It is very easy for T's to throw a molly into back donut like this. So if you don't have your smoke, you're just going to get flushed out and probably die to the T's swinging you. In terms of getting to donut, if you have the spawn and the timing, then just jump out through red and get out here towards donut fast, so then you have a better timing. But if you don't have a great timing, then just run safe over towards donut this way. If you hear the T's pushing you in donut and you're not mollied in the back, you can throw a flash up here like this. Boom, and that's going to pop right in front of this square and making it really awkward for T's to fight you. Something you should know, and you might already know, is that towards donut, when you watch middle, you have a huge shadow advantage. Because the sun leans this way, the sun is leaning this way. because of this, where the sun is on the map, your shadow extends off this way. Boom, I can see their shadow right there. That's it. And because it's so far away, that can make this a really great opping angle, right? I'm scoped down on here, I see the shadow, and then I know they're about to peek me. The same goes for up on this ledge. It is tricky because it is a high-low, so if they're coordinated, then they like 3, 2, 1, swing this. That's an awkward fight for you, but you still get the shadow advantage, right? You see the shadow, it's very visible from Donut. If you're feeling cocky in Donut, then you can play this off angle right here, just right in front of the middle pillar. This one is really awkward for T's because they're scaling, they're clearing this, and then they're gonna skip right by you because you're right here out in the open. What the heck? However, very tradable, right? So high risk, high reward type position. When you're playing on the left side of Donut, you have to be careful with your shadows because boom, if I'm walking up and I'm clearing this right side, I can see that there is a big old CT player right here because they have a giant ass shadow spanning across Donut. So instead you can play close like this or just play deeper into Donut so then you're not giving up this huge shadow advantage. If you're in Donut and you want to retake mid control and smoke elbow, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can do one here on the right side of Donut, this vertical line right here. You aim up, dark window, just inside on the right side of that dark window, a left click jump throw, and then this is going to smoke off elbow. It does take a while to land, so it is a bit safer, more passive. The other way you can do it is by getting out here in front of Donut, and you want to aim at this side of the big blue thing and just left click jump throw. And then this is a nice deep elbow smoke that's going to land much quicker. However, you are a bit more exposed throwing this to shelf and anybody out mid. Okay, let's talk about playing red more passively, right? You're just chilling in red. As the red player, you are the rotate player. So if we're in the passive setup of 1A, 1 Donut, 1 red, and 2 towards B, then you are the player who's going to be first to rotate over towards B. However, early, you still want to be throwing some util down mid. Maybe you don't want to use your HE because having this HE to blow the red smoke would be really nice, but at least get a molly and a flash down middle. That way the T's don't know whether you guys are running down mid or not, right? If you have an elbow smoke, maybe they're going to expend a bunch of utility getting out elbow and then they find, hey, nobody's here, right? So as mentioned, having your smoke in red is hugely beneficial because if you get smoked here, you can come back, just left and right click a nade, and then boom, you can duel mid through this smoke. Another good thing to do is just spamming this right side. If you hear early flashes out middle, right? These T's are going to scale this way. Maybe they're going to tuck close Donut. And if you have a decent spam to get that part of middle, then you can get a free kill or get some free damage. Now, if you're playing this passive setup and you have a player towards Donut, it means that you don't have to stick around in red for too long because this Donut player has full visibility on the cross towards red, which means that they are drawing a visibility line right here. So anybody that crosses this, we know about, right? So typically, if we're playing this passive setup, you start red. Okay, mid is quiet. You don't have to spam. You're chilling, but you don't necessarily just want to run out and run down mid. You should just lean towards B. You come back towards B, and then that way we're in a 2-site setup, and maybe the Jag player is committing. Maybe they come back, but we're heavy towards B and we're heavy towards A because we have somebody anchoring A and somebody in Donut, and this Donut player gets info. That way, if this Donut player sees somebody cross towards red, then we can keep the 3B setup, but we could just have somebody spot red from here. If you do start red and you hear your B player say, they're coming B, immediately just flash over long. I don't care where the B player is. Maybe they're short, maybe they're pillar, maybe they're cubby. Maybe cubby might not be the best to flash over long for, but if they're pillar or behind pillar anywhere here, just flash over long. That way the T's are scaling up, they're looking for the B player, and then boom, there's a nice little flash that's going to help them out with their fights. One really cheeky smoke you can throw to help your B players too. This is more so for a retake, but if your B players are like committed ramp and you want to smoke off cave, you just get into this corner, you look at this part of the box, just top right of the circle right here, and then you run, and then you left click jump throw, bada bing, bada boom. Really nice for retakes, also really nice for rotating, and if your B players are committed down ramp. All right, one more situation. If your team is starting 3 towards B, and you two mid players don't want to commit down mid, then you should be playing 2 towards the A side, which means either double Donut, right? You can run a setup like this, have one back here. This is where the shadow doesn't show. Have one back here so they can spot the A cross, and the other player can play right here, spot the mid exit, or they can even play right here too. Alternatively, you could play a bit more passive where you have one player just spotting here and another towards default on A. You could run a double A setup where you have one player boosted up here, Boom, they're right here. And then you have your second player right here, so then they can spot deep donut. So boost player takes contact, boom, this player can swing off of them and fight A main, and this player safely, right? They're not exposed to A main. They get info on donut. However, if you're playing a really passive setup and we're 3 towards B, then you need to let the B players know, hey, they could lurk red, right? That's the danger here. That's a lot of yapping about middle, and I have to yap a lot about it because, like I said, Ancient very fluid on CT side. You shouldn't be doing the same thing round after round after round. Some rounds you should be playing for A. Some rounds you should be playing a more passive mid setup where you can react off of mid pops. Some rounds, most I would say, you should be trying to get down mid and fight towards shelf. Be analytical, be reactive to what the T's are doing, right? Are they throwing a shit jump up molly every single round and giving you free fights down B? Then get aggressive and run down B. Are they sprinting out mid every round? Then ask your A player, ask your other mid player, hey, let's triple nade mid and molly mid and just destroy these guys who are running out elbow. Are they popping mid? If they're popping mid on that second timing or, 5-10 seconds delayed, then we can jump donut and jump into cubby and then react to that pop, right? So be creative. Don't get stuck in the same thing every round and play Ancient fluidly, because that's the best way to play it. It's so much more fun and you're going to win more games. All right, next, let's talk about anchoring A. Now, this is a thing with anchoring A. You are not an A anchor. You should not go into a pug and say out of spawn, I'm gonna anchor A every single round. Don't do it. It's bad. You're a mid player who occasionally anchors A when it makes sense to. If you anchor A every single round and then wonder, why am I not having impact in my games? It's because you're anchoring A. It's a snooze fest over here. Ancient runs on the B site, right? It runs on shelf and middle on the B site. A is a very retakeable site. It's one of the hardest sites in CS2 for T's to plant the bomb and have a successful post plant, purely because there's not that much space on A. So Ancient is played in a pretty gambly way where CTs are going to be leaned heavily towards middle and leaned more heavily towards B and towards shelf, and then playing retake towards the A site. Now, don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean you should never be playing A. You should absolutely be playing A in some situations, and I'm going to talk about how you can do that effectively. But that's the core concept of CT Ancient that you need to understand, is that A site is the weaker site for T's to attack. Even if you take the site and you get bombed down and you're in a 5v5 post plant, if you don't have donut control, it's a really hard site to hold. Because let's think of it from the T's perspective. They need to smoke off CT, and to get bombed down, they also need to smoke off donut, right? So boom, instantly 2 smokes gone. If they're not able to take temple control, and even with temple control, this is a very easy space for CTs to reclear, then what space do the T's have? Well, they have a box and they have A main. That's kind of it. You can also walk up and play close CT, but then once these smokes fade in CT and donut, then you're getting pinched and it's a really easy clear for the CTs. So not that much space, right? There's plat, but you can't hide here. You're just exposed, you're forced into fights. Just big box, boost, A main, that's really it. So from the CT perspective, if we can play retake on A effectively, then why should we play A every single round? It doesn't make sense. There's also the fact that T's are going to fight for mid control. They're going to fight for B. They're not just going to rush A every round. It's just an unnecessary usage of 1 of 5 players on the team to have them sit on A every fucking round. It's boring. It sucks. Don't do that. However, when we're not playing for middle and we're giving space middle, let's say the T's every single round, they're splitting mid with 5 people. They're banging flashbangs. They're smoking donuts, smoking red, right? They're using so much util to take middle. Let's just give them middle and play for extremities. In that case, we can play to take A main, right? We can get into A main, get into the setup here. That way, if the T's come A, then we have a really nice retake again, and maybe we can even hold their push from donut. Or if the T's are on an eco round, right, and we're expecting something fast, then we could sit on A and play, anti-rush. We could have somebody donut, have somebody red, do that more passive mid setup we were talking about before. That way, we have somebody here to fight against this rush and get this info early. Another reason why A is so hard for T's to take is because it's a really good oppers site. There are a lot of long sight lines that are really hard for T's to deal with, and there are a lot of fallback positions that oppers can play, and because it's so retakeable, that lends itself to being an opper site, because an opper can post, boom, get 1, fall back, and then maybe just post here, get another, and then boom, you're in a 5v3 retake on one of the easiest sites in the game to retake. So what that means for us as CTs is that we shouldn't be anchoring A every single round. And if the Ts pick up on that we're anchoring A, then that enables them to take other space because they know we can only play 2 people middle. They know that we're not going to have 3 people on B unless we're full giving up middle, but that doesn't mean that we should ignore the A side. We should still send somebody to the A side. You should still play A every once in a while, especially anti-eco, when we're expecting the Ts to just hit a site fast, and it should often be the AWPer. This is the AWPer's site. It's just so good for opping that it's hard to send a rifler over towards A. However, you absolutely can rifle on A, and I'm going to show you how. A isn't a site that you should be dropping your smoke immediately on or using any util off rip unless you're committing into A main and you're trying to take this space. Any util you throw here at this choke point should be off of reaction to seeing somebody. So by default, what you can do is just play close like this and just jiggle out this space. This is so effective because there is a massive shadow advantage here on this left side. You see how huge my shadow is? Even if I scale safely with my shadow like this and I go to the close wall, once I pass this angle, my shadow is still very exposed right here. So what you can do, right, is jiggle this. You see a shadow, you see somebody, and you block with your molly, and then you listen, right? Are they pushing you? Are they not? If they're not pushing you, then you can just smoke the molly and just full deny this A main space. In my opinion, if you're rifling, you should be trying to play close like that, or get back up on that boost like this. Bang, you're up here, and you can play an angle like this. This has the same shadow advantage right here. If anybody scales on this left side here, it's still a very good fight for you, and they're probably not going to be holding the boost. They're probably more going to be worried about this and about temple and all this space out here that they have to clear. So still a decent fight for you, right? You can get one, come back, drop a molly if you're feeling like, you know, there's not somebody immediately about to swing you and trade you. Boost is definitely more committed and a bit riskier than playing under here. If you're in a 2-man A setup, then having one on boost and one under them right here, or one playing brokey right here, that is really powerful. But for the most part, you are going to be alone on A, which means that just playing here and just jiggling with a molly, you're golden. Playing brokey with a rifle is fine. The only issue is that you can't react with a molly or with a smoke as quickly as you can if you're playing close, right? If you're peeking this and you see T's like rushing out, they're going at you, then by the time the smoke lands, they're often just going to be out already, and then you're out in the open taking these fights. So not the worst spot, but I would say this is better for an AWPer to just post on this angle and they can kill anybody walking up A main, and then they can fall back like that. Playing back here towards Ninja is really good if you have somebody to distract for you, but if you're anchoring A from this position, it's just really sketchy, especially if, like I said, you don't have anybody to help you or distract from you. Then as the T's scale, they should just clear this. If they don't clear this and you don't have anybody distracting, then they're just bad, not gonna lie. Unless it's like late round situation is super random that you're in the spot, but they should be clearing you. Also, oh, look at this. Valve, please fix. Off rip at a spawn, one cool play you can make is by taking A main, you can throw your molly against this part and then a nade right here. And this is a good anti-rush setup where the T's, right, they get blocked by the molly, they're funneled here, boom, they're naded, and then you're swinging them. I would say gun v gun round, it's a bit risky. If you have an AK, then it's really nice because then you can duel these headshot angles. But with an M4, then you're at a bit of a disadvantage with these fights. However, if you throw this util, right, you throw the molly and then you throw the nade, you give it a quick peek, you're good. Then you can smoke deep and boom, you have all of A main all to yourself. Alternatively, you can push A main silently. And once you cross over here, this is about where you'll start taking fights if the T's are shift walking it as well. However, keep in mind, if you walk through all the way to this right side, there's a timing where T's could be walking and they're going up this way as you are going this way. So it's happened to me before where I'm going for that play. I walk this way, I'm right here, I get a kill right here, but I get timinged by somebody who passed me as I was passing them. They go around this way and they get a free kill on me and then they have A. So just be mindful of that. If you do take A main and you're able to cross towards this left side, this angle right here is so busted because, right, T's are going to be walking in. They can't clear it from here. They're going to walk this way, and then boom, now they're exposed to you on this angle. It's really cheeky. It's a little risky because it's very tradable, but really cool angle to play. For the most part, you're going to be reacting to A stuff happening rather than anchoring A like we talked about, right? You're going to be fighting mid, you're going to be active, you're not just going to be sitting A every single round. So when you react to an A rush or an A execute, it can be really good to drop lurk smokes in front of you so then you can get out and fight behind these, right? Along with that, behind donut lurk smokes, you can molly towards Brokey, towards Temple, right? You can throw a molly here, you can run through a molly here, and then you can flush T's out from behind these pieces of cover. Sometimes you have to take it slower and completely play for the retake rather than playing from behind a lurk smoke off rip. If you're committed into donut and you have teammates going down mid, you have teammates over at B, and you're the first to react to something going on at A, then you might just be taking a 1v5 by like going through the smoke and fighting. So instead, what you can do is if you get smoked off donut, you can play for the bomb, right? If you get up into this spot, listen to the sound and spam this corner, then you can kill somebody who's going to be planting right here on the safe corner, and that can buy you guys extra time for this retake, and you get a free kill, and boom, really nice. Now let's say it's the same situation, but you're not getting smoked donut, right? The T's are out A, but donut is open. Don't force it, because if you can keep this donut space, then this retake is going to be much easier than if you go out, die, and the T's are able to take donut from you. Keep this donut space, similar to how on B we talked about if the T's are rushing B, you should try to keep this long space. Same thing here, keep donut. Because T's taking donut provides a significantly better post-plant situation than if they have to play for Temple, right? Those are kind of the two places T's can play for. In the post-plant, they can play for Temple, and they can play for donut, and donut is significantly harder for us to retake, right? If they plant right here in front of this box, then they can see bomb from back donut, and that, as you probably know, is such a headache. So if you have the sense that the T's are going to be playing for donut space, then if you still have your molly, drop your molly, right? Keep this donut space. I don't give a shit. Use your util to make sure that they can't push you and that these fights are going to be easier for you, right? If you bounce a flash right there, this is one you can fight with and is really annoying for T's to deal with. When you're rifling, I would also avoid playing back default, unless maybe you have an AK. If the T's rush A, you're back default with an M4. This becomes really awkward because they have AKs, they have the one-tap capability, and you're just stuck here. The other factor is that if T's are smoking CT deep like that, then as they run out, they can just molly back default and get you out of the spot anyways. So it's like you're committing yourself to A rather than to mid or towards B, but you're also playing A passively and not getting info, and you're just getting flushed out anyways. So if you're rifling A, play more committed, because if you're just like passive and not really doing anything, then what even is the point? You're just going to get smoked off and be playing for retake anyways. Now I will say, if you do end up default, that right, the T smoke CT and they don't know you're here default and they don't molly you, then one thing you can do is crouch on default and hold an angle like this if they haven't smoked donut. That's because the T's, if they haven't smoked donut, they're likely going to fight for donut and swing out this way, and they're going to be looking very far away from you if you are crouched on an off angle right there. These map guide videos are always so long, and I typically skip talking about retaking because they're already crazy long. I just want to go over basics, but I think it's worth real quick talking about some utility and some things you can do on your A retakes. From CT, if you're rotating in, you can get into this corner and you just aim at the top of this nub and you left click jump throw. There's an A main smoke for you. Very nice. You might be wondering why smoke here rather than deep, and that's because this is the choke that we're worried about. We're less so worried about this choke because if T's can be out here, they could still swing us and they can still fight. So in general, whether we're anchoring or whether we're retaking, we'd rather smoke here, even though they can still boost up, than smoke deep, because this smoke much more annoying for T's to commit out of and try to fight through. After that A main smoke, one flash you can throw for your teammates is just at this dark spot right here. You just left click throw. This one pops above them around the corner so they don't get blinded by it if they're playing close CT like this. And it's going to blind anybody who's tucked like over in this cubby or over here or back default. It blinds a ton of positions and is a really good god flash to just send people out CT with. And then as mentioned before, you can throw mollies behind the smoke, right? If you just look at this giant plant right here and run left click throw, from pretty much wherever you are donut, this is gonna molly back Brokey. From donut, if you're not using your smoke to lurk smoke out, then if you get into this corner, you aim all the way up and you see this first window, you look at this dark splotch on it, it's a bit hard to see, but you left click jump throw at that, and this is the world's slowest A main smoke. But nonetheless, it's still really cool and really helpful. Another note for retaking from Donut is that you guys as a team need to know whether you're going to flood or you're going to just play for the retake, right? What I mean by flood is as the T's are planting and they're scaling out, you guys pop through and flood the site. Often that's not going to be an option because we're going to be kind of far away from the site. So if you don't have the opportunity to flood, you don't have people to flash for you or other people to jump through with you, then just play patient. Make the T's sweat. Make them feel awkward. And if you are doing that, right, you're playing slower, you're going to play for retake, then what you can do is just hard re-clear mid. Just make sure there isn't a lurk who's just walking out of elbow late. Often this will be your Jag player. If they commit up, then they can hard clear elbow and just pause and just wait for this lurk and then come back over for the retake. But if nobody's doing that, then you can come back, just make sure nobody's here. Okay, we're good. And then you come back and you're on for the retake. Another easy piece of util you can throw on an A retake is that if the T's smoke you donut and then this smoke starts to fade, people will like to get into this kind of corner or up here. And one thing you can do is just molly this safely by just jiggling and then just run left click it against the right side of default. That way it's going to flush them out and they're going to be forced out much more into the open, making this a significantly more isolated fight than if you have to swing all the way out here. One last thing, because I just thought of it, anchoring A from plat is genuinely awful. You should be one and done here every single time. Maybe if you're anti-eco and like you have, I don't even have an AUG equipped, but if you have an AUG and you're anti-eco, then just like sitting here and spraying them down is fine. However, you're just in the open, no cover, and 2 angles to hold. Whereas if you're holding for back over here, these angles are much more combined, right? This left, this right. But here, they're much further away, making your life a lot more difficult. So I wouldn't play up there with a rifle all too much, or with an AWP. Definitely not an AWP. All right, let's talk about the AWP and let's do a quick recap. We have the B anchor, preventing rushes, holding down B. We have the cave / Jaguar player who's fighting shelf, and we have the mid riflers who are running down mid and fighting for mid control. So where does the AWPer fit in this structure? Well, the AWPer is so cool and important and chill that they can do whatever the fuck they want to do. If you want to go A with the AWP and just post on A main, fuck it, do it. You can start in red and support your teammates getting down mid. You can pause right here, aim at that thing and just left click throw, and this is a flash that lands bottom mid and is going to blind tease as they scale out elbow. Now, I will say your big responsibility as an AWPer on Ancient is to know the elbow smokes. If you are an AWPer, like you AWP, you're the guy who's always buying the AWP, and especially if you want to get into team play CS, if you want to play ESCA and play on a team, you need to know all 5 smokes because, can you guess what I'm going to say? Ancient is very timing dependent. Your cave player needs to get into Jag as fast as possible. Your mid players need to get down mid as fast as possible. And you with your AWP, this isn't a great map for an AWPer to take really early round opening kills, right? There's certainly options for it, and there's certainly a way you can play around with going for opening kills. But for the most part, the Ancient CT AWPer is a bit more supportive, and they're going to lean more towards the extremities, such as A, and towards B, than they will like Mirage playing window and going for cat jumps and peeking con, right? You're going to be going a bit less crazy with the AWP on CT Ancient than you will on other maps. But that's fine because throwing elbow smokes every single round and locking down sites is huge impact. So what a typical round as an AWPer could look like is you spawn in, you throw your elbow smoke, and then you go towards red. And if you didn't see it, go to the beginning of the mid player section to see all the elbow smoke lineups. And then you go towards red and you can support your teammates getting out middle, right? If they insta-smoke you red, then you have your HE, you can pop the red smoke. I should probably buy an AWP. You can pop the red smoke and fight down middle like that. But if your teammates get down mid, A-okay, they're all chill, then you float. You float around. You go wherever your heart takes you. You could come back CT, sit here and just post on the A main walk. You could go back towards B, right? Go towards game helper and post on bottom ramp. You can come back. You can flash ramp for your B anchor to peek down. If your teammates don't have Jag, then a really good spot for you to play is just playing right here. Or if you come back B and you notice your cave player is scared shitless, sitting in a corner, then you can come back and you can post on this. And this puts a lot of pressure off of your B player, right? Because then the T's are going to be focused on you opping right here. However, like we talked about in the A player section, the A site is the opper's site. This is such a good site for you to op on because the fights are just so advantageous, right? You get one, then you fall back, you can get another, you can jump into temple, or you can just start from temple, bang, get one, fall back, you can come back here, bang, get another and fall back, right? There's a lot of fallback points, and it is just such a good site for you to op on. If you get 1 or 2 kills, then that makes the retake so easy for CTs. So don't get too greedy on A. Go for 1. If you can get 2, go for it, get 2. But avoid like committing and playing super hard for A. You can go for a play where you just post on this early, bang, you get 1, and then knife out, and you just fall back to donut as fast as you can, right? Like we talked about, A is super retakeable. If you get 1 or 2, fall off, and then just play for retake. Now, because the op is so floaty, you don't have to start red every single round, right? That's just a good default thing you can do to be supportive and to just float wherever you want to after this initial mid fight. But you also want to have impact, and you want to go, you know, for some openings and try to be in the most impactful position you can be. So here are some things you can do. The op play section, I always love it. Let's rapid fire these. If you get a teammate to come with you towards A, you have your rifler walk over on this right side towards that direction, and you just post on this angle and you just wait, boom, you get an easy kill, and then your teammate cleans up after that. Starting the round over towards donut with an op is pretty good. Donut's a good opping spot. If the T's are splitting mid constantly, then you should just start donut and just hold for the mid split, because often T's aren't going to be able to blind you here, and you can just get 1 for free and then fall off and then play a 5v4 from there. And like we talked about in the mid player section, this donut angle gives you a huge shadow advantage for T's walking up mid. So in the mid round and even in the early round, just posting on this angle, boom, you get 1. That can be really nice as well. Playing towards donut with your op also gives you nice fallback options where you can get 1, fall off, and then post on an angle like this if you have your teammate blocking A main or in A main. You can also fall back even further and just post on it from Brokey from this spot right here, and then you can get 1 and then fall into temple. Getting down middle with your op, so scary. I hate it. I would genuinely just say almost never do this. The only time where I think it's like viable is if you get a boost onto shelf, or you can make this jump, then you can get up here on shelf and insta take this peak. The only problem is that T's often will be 2 people running up this way, so they can trade the cave player, and then you're somewhat tradable. But if you can get up, get 1, and then get out, that's pretty chill. Obviously, scary place to be with an op. If they pop out elbow, they're popping through the smoke, you should just be dead. There's some cool things you can do over towards B. One is just taking the cave peek early, especially if your Jag player has been really aggressive in taking the space. Then the tempo shift of having an opper just chill here and just hold this angle, bang, they get 1. That's really nice and can be a completely free kill if the T's aren't expecting it. Another thing you can do is just prod ramp early. Now, if this has to be like buy V buy round, you're not expecting to B rush at all, but you can come through short, molly ramp, get up, knife out, and then just scope out and just prod, just poke and prod and see what's going on down here, right? This can be really, really cheeky, high risk, but pretty dope play. You can have a rifler come with you too, just so that if you miss a shot and you have to fall, then this rifler's here to pick up the slack for you. Starting towards long with your op isn't all too bad either. The only issue is that once you're posted up on slant right here, is that you could get peeked from boost as well. And if there's an opper who peeks you from boost, then it's a pretty tough fight for you to win. If you know that they don't have an op, then I don't mind it. Just post, see what you can get. However, if you know that they have an op, then if you have a teammate in sight, then you can just post on the boost like this, right? And your teammate is playing here in sight. This way, it's kind of a double angle where you post it on boost, but if the T's walk up ramp too, then they're going to expose themselves to you right here, and it's the exact same angle, so really easy shot for you to hit. Once you take a shot here, then your teammate from sight can swing on this ramp walk. The other thing you can do towards B is just start short. You just start here, post on this angle, boom, you get 1, and then you can fall, and then you can play for this long space or keep this short space. This can be really good if you get 2 riflers committing into Jag, right? That way we're playing like full retake towards B, but we can still go for an early pick where, you know, those T's are coming up, boom, you get one, we're doubled in cave, and then we're playing retake in a 5v4. My teammate from ESCA season 50, Mr. Anthony Lyon, shout out Ant Lion. He would go for an A main peek that was super greedy, but I fucked with it. You just knife out, you send it, and you just insta peek left side, and you just prod for the head, right? Boom, you kill the headshot angle, and then bang, you're out. That can be a super dope play. It is risky, it can be a hard shot to hit, but if you're looking for a pick, go for it. One thing to note, if you're opping on A, then you can really easily throw supportive util for your mid players by just run jump throwing them over donut. These are going to blind any T's swinging out this way or peeking into donut, and that can help your mid players, you know, fight mid in a more passive setup. So that's the Opper's role. You know, be fluid, go do whatever you want to do, get silly with it. Just make sure you're calming to your teammates. Just tell them what you're gonna do. Even if it's silly, aggressive, whatever it is, just tell them. And also be aware of elbow smokes. You should be smoking elbow, do it, it's really good. And the other thing is, as an Opper, pretty much in any map on CT side, you should be buying a nade. Make sure that you're buying HE grenades, because like, let's say you're up here, you're supporting mid early, and they smoke red. You want to be able to nade that red smoke. Let's say they don't smoke red, we take mid, you come back A, they smoke CT, you want to be able to nade the CT smoke. Let's say they go up B, right? They rush B, they smoke short. You want to be able to nade the short smoke, right? So buy a nade. It's just so good, especially as an Opper. Moving on to T side, let's talk about how to play towards ramp. At the beginning of the round, right, if you're going to chill ramp, you have to worry about CTs pushing B, and you have to worry about CTs swinging shelf, because if you don't have teammates running up shelf and taking the space, then you're just totally susceptible to getting shot at from here. So what you can do is either smoke the CT shelf molly, which would typically be around here. If they're not throwing that molly, or you just want a different kind of smoke to throw, you can throw this smoke on the fly. I call this bubble smoke because it just kind of creates a bubble here on shelf, but it'll smoke off shelf so CTs can't peek you, and it'll smoke off cave as well. Obviously, a smoke is a smoke, it's not a wall, so you still do have to be careful of CTs nading it or pushing through it, but at least that way you have some cover, which allows you to poke and prod up towards B. At the beginning of the round, ramp isn't a place where you're going to have a ton of impact unless CTs are just swinging you and giving you free kills. This is typically a spot that's going to get more impact later into the round. If your other B players are running up and taking shelf and fighting cave, then you should be playing more passively, and what that could look like is just chilling here on this kind of angle, holding for the ramp push. You can also start the round with a molly towards top ramp. It is best to bounce it off of this wall so it gets nice and deep. That way you can also peek behind it, right? It's going to land right here and create a really annoying visual clutter for the CTs, and then you're playing this headshot angle right here, looking for a pick on B. However, one advantage to holding onto your molly if you're playing ramp is that if your shelf players get up and take cave, then what you can do is molly pillar like this. You get right here and you aim right here on the building and you just left click throw. This molly will molly back pillar, but also molly cave entrance, which allows your shelf players to take this space and not worry about getting peeked from this entrance. Something you might run into is a B door smoke, and you should commit through this if your teammates are committing through this. There's no reason for you to sit behind this if your other B players run up and they're taking shelf, right? You should commit through and still hold ramp like this. One thing you can do is hold this more aggressively, is get through the smoke, and then if you're feeling like the CTs are going to push down ramp or you hear them, you know, getting close, you can just flash behind yourself and swing them as they're having to hold W down this way. If you're feeling good, feel free to duel this B player, just because this is a really nice headshot angle for you, right? If the CT is holding this, and it's one of those angles where if the CT is just standing here holding it, then you should be able to win this fight if you're peeking into them with an AK, right? You should have the crosshair placement, boom, and you're ready for that fight. If you want to get some info, you can also jump spot this like this. You jump, swing out, boom. Maybe you see one on slant here. One way you can nade them really nicely is just aiming up in this direction and just do a little shift walk. Boom, if somebody's right here, they're going to take so much damage from that. If you have people with you, then you can get more aggressive in how you play ramp, right? For example, you could boost somebody up onto the boost right here. They can spot long, and then you and a teammate can walk up and contact up B like this, and look for a fight. If you're walking up and you spot somebody pillar and maybe they duck and hide and they're waiting for a teammate, you can just molly them like this by bouncing util against this back square, and then boom, they're going to get flushed out by that. One thing I need to say about ramp is that this is a passive, kind of boring position. Sure, you can just go for aim duels and try to bully this B anchor, but for the most part, you're going to be in more of a supportive role until the mid round, until we're able to take space up into cave, until we're able to take space out mid. That's when you can start, you know, throwing util and doing more and looking for fights. So because it's boring and you're not super likely to get action early, you should play a bit more supportive, which means, right, falling pillar if your teammates are able to take jag. You can also flash for them to take jag like this. You just stand right here and you aim at the gap in between these leaves right here. Flash out, you left click, and then boom, this pops on this corner right here. So anywhere the CT is in jag, they're going to get full blinded by this. You just have to make sure your teammates know that they have to be turned for that, and then they're swinging. One flash your teammates don't have to turn for is just from this corner. You aim at this corner where this, you know, wall meets this wall, and you just do a little shift walk, left click throw. This one pops in the cubby right there. So as CT swing out, they're going to get blinded. It just won't blind them if they're swung out all the way towards the right like this, or if they're swinging out towards the left side like this. On some rounds, your team is going to go for a heavy mid thing, or maybe they're going towards A slow and you find yourself lurking towards B. That's where this bubble smoke that I showed before can be really powerful, because boom, you get this up. This makes the jag player really scared to commit out and hard clear mid. This also provides you a really nice lurk opportunity where if you hear that jag player run out towards mid, then you can just walk through and take jag for yourself and then go flank towards B. Or alternatively, you can walk through the smoke towards shelf and then flank donut. One more cool flash for you to know that might come in handy is if you smoke this off like I showed for bubble, or if cave is just smoked off neatly, then a W jump throw at that bucket is a really nice pop flash for middle. Of course, your teammates have to be turned for it, but boom, anybody down here bottom mid who's in this position is going to get super blinded by this. And this also works later into the round when CTs are up on shelf. If a CT is holding shelf like this, they're going to get blinded by that flash as well. There's a ton of useful util for you to know from B doors, so let's go over it. You're going to get next to this triangle. This is where you're going to throw it all from. To smoke off short, you just aim at the tip of this plant. Boom, short is smoked. I showed the pillar molly before. You just aim right there at the corner of the building. Bang. If you want to molly cubby, then you just aim up at this splotch right here and just left click throw. There we go. We get the cubby molly, we have a pillar molly, and we have short smoked off. If you also want to smoke long, you can do that from door. You just go from the triangle up to the door right here, the hinge, and then you left and right click jump throw. I see this big splotch, this splotch, right in the middle of them at the top. Left and right click jump throw your smoke, and then this is a nice long smoke. It will land a bit deep, but it does spread to cover this corner right here. And as you can see, a CT does not have visibility chilling right here. Ready for some more? Because there's a lot of util here. It's a really good util position. These are the pillar flashes. You just look at this dark orange splotch, then I go down to this darker splotch under the orange right there. Left click jump throw. These are really nice flashes for your team as they scale up B, because they don't blind your players when they get up, because it pops right about here behind the pillar. But any CT over here towards long is going to get super blinded by this, and same thing with any CT over here towards short. You can also smoke off end game with that exact same lineup just by W jump throwing the smoke. Then this is going to boom, 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 and then land right here, smoking off end game. So then your teammates can go up and take long control. One good molly to know, especially for a really easy pug pistol strat, is a long molly. So easy pistol strat real quick. You just send 4 people, all of your team, up into jag to rush through cave. You're going to come here at doors, right? You stop here, you smoke short, you come over here, and you're going to molly long by aiming right here. So I see this like kind of bland bit that doesn't have much detail right here where it meets the more textured bit, and then left click jump throw. This is going to molly second cubby 100% of the time, but first cubby, sometimes it spreads to it, sometimes it doesn't. It's just hard to get a molly that does both from right here. Boom, that molly lands and they're stuck right here, right? If they are in the spot, then they can't leave and escape. So that's ramp. There's not a whole lot to talk about in this space, right? You need to be aware of shelf. You need to hold it if there isn't any util down or nobody fighting it. You can smoke it. You can prod towards B. You can contact up B with teammates. I didn't talk about bucket, and that's because bucket you should typically avoid unless you're fairly confident the CTs are going to push down bottom B. You're just very spammable, and it's very stuck in, right? If the CTs pinch you from cave and from ramp, you should get max 1 and then get traded. All right, so that's the ramp player. Let's move on to talking about playing shelf as a T, whether you're taking cave or you're trying to split middle. The first and most important thing to mention as a shelf player is that you are not really on an island. You're not like solo. You really do rely on your mid players or just on info of what's happening mid. Because if you want to take cave alone, that's awesome. But if nothing is happening mid and the CTs, you know, boost somebody up or get up, jump up immediately and we don't have a molly down, you're just going to die because of it. So you have to be aware of what's going on mid, which means that out of spawn, if you want to go shelf fast, if you want to fight for cave quickly, then you need to confirm with one of your teammates that they are going to molly jump up for you, or else you just can't make that play, right? It's just too risky. You're going to be in this awful crossfire between cave and between this jump up space. If nobody is mollying jump up, then you're going to have to slow down and adjust your approach up shelf. Unless the CTs are playing super passively and you know they're not running down middle, then yeah, sure, you can take the space for free. But if they are running down mid, fighting shelf, then you do need help in the early round if you want to take this space. So let's start with fighting for cave, fighting for jag, assuming that somebody's mauling jump up for you and you don't have to worry about this. How can you take jag? The most powerful molly that you can know on T side to take that space is called the Brolin molly. What it's going to do is it's going to fly from B doors and then land right here in this space, preventing a CT from even fighting in towards jag unless they want to run through a molly. So here's how you throw it. You're going to go through B doors, molly out, and you're going to run at the door and slide against it. And as you're sliding against it, you're only holding W. Once you get here and you're sliding against this door, I aim for this splotch. There's kind of an orange splotch right here. I go for about the middle or a little above the middle of it. And here's what it looks like. So you run against the door, you slide against it, and you left click jump through that molly as you get towards the end of the door. Let's do it one more time just so you can see it. Molly out, look at the splotch, left click jump through, throw as you're sliding against the door. And this is what the molly looks like. So CT coming here, boom, this molly lands. Really uncomfortable. Typically for a CT to fight through this, they would need to smoke it like this. Boom, they smoke and then they can get through and fight. But they have to already have their smoke out, or else the time it takes for them to take their smoke out and then smoke it and then go, you know, you're already up. So they have to be aware that you're throwing that constantly. The other option, of course, is for them to just run through it. And sometimes they will, and they'll burn for 30, 40 damage, and you're going to hear them tick, 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 tick. And then that's a much easier fight for you once you get up into the space. Brolin molly can be tricky. One alternative is just as you get up shelf, you get your molly out and you're going to molly against the right side of this orange wall. So right here. And then boom, this is going to molly out the right side. It's going to prevent any CT from just sitting on this angle. A lot of CTs will like to just op and just peek this and just sit on this. It's a fine fight for CTs, but it's very mollyable. Throw your molly, you wait, you listen to sound, and then you have very little space to clear, right? All you have to worry about is this fight right here. That's it. Something else you're going to face when you're going towards B and you're going towards shelf is shelf utility, right? If the CTs are mollying this and maybe they're nading it too, you have to be aware of what util they're throwing. So if they're mollying it, then one thing you can do, especially if you're not throwing Brolin, is just bounce your smoke like this. That way you're going up quick. You're not going to take any ticks from the molly, because instead of like smoke out, tick, 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 and then you smoke it, right? Then you're going to still take some damage and give that sound cue. Instead, you can just run through doors, bounce your smoke right here, boom, your knife out, you get up, gun out, and then now you're swinging. Another way you can fight for the space is with a flash. So here's a really cool flash you can use to fight jag. You're going to smoke that molly, you're going to swing over towards this left side, and then you're going to bounce a flash against the left side of this column right here, or archway. So on the left side of it, you do have to strafe out wide. So your timing is a little worse, but this flash is insanely good. It's going to blind people all the time, and it's going to give you a free kill. In the ramp player section, I showed some support flashes you can throw to help a teammate take cave. But if you're in a duo, then having, you know, both of you know these flashes is going to be super helpful. That way, if one of you wants to take cave, let's say the other doesn't have a great spawn, then the other player can throw one of these two flashes and it's going to make this cave take significantly easier for that duo. So those are some ideas for you on how to take jag fast One general thing to keep in mind is that as you run up this way, you're going to be able to hear this cave player as long as you aren't deafened from their nade here on shelf. If they're not throwing a nade, then you're going to be able to fully hear them, and that's going to tell you where the fight is going to be, right? If you hear the footsteps to the entrance and then it's quiet, you know that this fight is going to be right here. If you hear the footsteps swinging out wide, you know the fight is going to be right here. So you have to react with your crosshair based on the sound, based on their timing, right? Do they have a really good timing? Then you're probably taking the fight out in this direction. If they have a really bad timing or you don't hear them too much, then it's probably going to be over here towards cave entrance. Your timing up shelf as a T is very important, as is the CTs. So typically, if you're going fast cave, you want one of these two spawns. Otherwise, your timing is going to be much worse. So using one of these two spawns and then asking somebody to come with you to trade you is great, because if you guys go 1 for 1 on this trade, right? I swing, I die, and then my teammate comes up and trades me. Then we're playing a 4v4 where now we're granted this jag space, and we likely know there's only one other player B. Let's move on to kind of phase 2 of that, right? Let's say we molly jump up, we get up here and we take this jag space quickly. If we kill somebody, then you can kind of gamble and just sprint through and just go, right? Because often this B anchor is going to be towards long, maybe they're short, but it's unlikely that they're going to have one player committing hard into jag to fight this space and then have a second player like be baiting them back here. Maybe it happens, it's certainly possible, but it's a good gamble to just immediately take this space without having to expend any util to take this cave space. And if you take cave, even if the CT anchor doesn't see anything ramp, if you're up in their business in cave, that is really scary for this solo B anchor, and it's going to force a rotate or even 2 rotates over towards B, because immediately B is now susceptible to getting split on. I'm trying to keep in mind at some levels of play, you won't even get the fights in this space, right? CTs are going to be playing much more passively. They're going to be playing rat angles in here. They're just going to start the round by sitting right here, right? So often you're just going to take this space for free if you're in, you know, a lobby where CTs aren't fighting for this that much. How should you manage this? How should you clear the space after you take it? Well, there's some really good util for you to use to help you clear the space. And if you notice like, hey, the CTs aren't fighting for jag at all, then don't even burn your molly on like this molly, right? Or on the Brolin molly. You don't need to, right? If they're not fighting for it, then just take it for free or take it with 1 flash. That way you save your molly for this cave take. And you can use your molly in 2 different ways for this cave take that are really helpful. One is just getting into this corner, and then you aim at this horizontal line where this big splotch is on the left side of it right here, and you just left click through. And this molly is going to burn out these close angles. The only one it sometimes doesn't cover is this back angle right here, but that's it. After this molly fades, you know for sure that the CTs can only be either right here or they can be on this back spot right here. The other way you can use your molly to clear the space is by jiggling this cave entrance, right? Always do a gun out first, just make sure nobody's posted on you, make sure nobody's out here, right? And you come back, molly out, you jiggle 1 more, and then you just run left click throw your molly. That way, like we talked about in the ramp player section, if this entrance is mollied, it isolates these fights for you, and you can clear this space isolated where boom, 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 you're going 1 by 1 on all the angles. And then as this molly fades, now you've cleared all this space, and all you have to worry about is just this cave entrance here. So for this clear and close cave, to make sure that you're isolating all these fights, you're going to walk up and clear this close right angle first, and then you move up, and because of this space here, now you can clear this back angle here and this close angle here, right? You're not exposed to this yet. And then you can walk up on the right side and clear this, and then you're going to clear this corner here. So you can do it in a slow 1 by 1 fashion that allows you to isolate all these fights. The only scary part is that this takes a little while, and while you're doing this, somebody could just swing you right here. Hence the molly towards cave entrance. That way you buy yourself time to go through all those clears. Now you might be thinking, hey, I've seen an insane flash that pops below the lip right here. And there is a flash that does that. It's a bit harder now because they've changed like the depth of this. Honestly, I don't even fuck with that flash. I don't think it's super helpful. I think what's better for you is just bouncing a flash and getting them off the angle, right? Especially if they're opping or they're just peeking this angle. If you throw a pop flash, it might not even blind them because they could just be posted on a really slim you know, part of this angle right here. But a wide flash like this that pops way out here, this forces them to turn and really get off the angle. Otherwise, they're going to get blinded by it, right? Whereas a pop flash like this, it might not even hit them, and then they're just going to swing off of reaction. Now, once you're up in this cave space, this is a pretty decent spot to just poke and prod and look for a fight. There's not a whole lot of space CTs can be playing and not a whole lot of cover, right? They can be on the second slant, but this is just like such a hard on angle that if they're holding this and you swing into them, you get to dictate the timing. You should typically win this fight. And out here, if you're able to jiggle them out and get the info that they're here, then they have zero cover, right? They're just completely reliant on your timing. So it is a very spooky place for a CT to be. I showed this flash on CT side, but you can use it on T side too. If you get into this corner and you left and right click at the top left of this big square, then this flash pops below you and is one you can just duel with and look for a fight with, and it won't blind you. From close cave, you can throw really helpful util if you guys are going to split B. You can smoke short very easily. You can molly endgame very easily by bouncing it against that top lip right there. Boom, you're gonna cut off the rotates with that. You can smoke endgame too. Just try to get it against this top rock right here. Run left click throw, and then boom, you have an endgame smoke from cave. Woo, really nice. You can also smoke long safely. You just run left click throw against this wall, and boom, that's gonna smoke out long, and you guys are chilling, right? You can also molly cubby if you get tight like this and then aim same thing top left of this big square and just run left click throw. Then boom, you're gonna molly cubby out and you're gonna get rid of this really obnoxious crossfire where you have, you know, 2 places to look. Now that's for executing B, right? Like you get up in cave, we're ready to go B, you can throw all the util, but sometimes you're just gonna have the space and you're just gonna have to chill and wait and see what happens. One thing you can do is just chill in this spot. This spot is really obnoxious because as a CT, if you want to re-clear the space, right, you're gonna walk up and clear this, and then you're not gonna see anybody and you say, okay, maybe it is A, right? You might just skip over this entirely unless you're gonna walk push and get all the way up into cave. So on this spot, you can just chill, right? Time out some peeks, see if they're gonna walk up on you. And the CT also has, right, jag to worry about too if they're going to walk up, so maybe they're not even going to be holding you. Last thing to mention about chilling in this space is that you can just spam out cubby too. If you think somebody's chilling in cubby, then just sending a spam here can be super strong because boom, you're just going to get them completely flushed out or you're going to immediately kill them. If we don't want to play to take that cave space fast, what can we do? Well, we can smoke cave off early, and there's a couple ways to do that. One is by getting into this corner, then you're going to aim at the bottom corner of this building. This is going to fly over, bounce, bounce, and then land inside cave. This is a nice and tucked in cave smoke, so the CTs will be immediately exposed if they swing out of this. You can also throw what I call the bubble smoke, which is from this corner here. You look at this leaf that protrudes out to the left, and you left click jump throw. It's just right in front of that rock as a spot, and this is going to bounce, 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 and then land outside of cave. So this kind of does 2 in 1. It blocks off cave, so then this player cannot see what is happening shelf, and it blocks off shelf, so then if the CTs jump up, oh no, they don't have any vision. One more fast one that you can throw that's kind of in between the two. You just go right here out of spawn, look up at the tree. It's this gap right here. Aim inside of that gap and just left click jump throw. And then this is going to land inside of jag entrance. However, this one does plume out quite a bit. So it's a little 2 in 1. You can still walk around it to, you know, lurk up shelf and look for these mid fights, but it's still going to smoke off this jag player. So if you're the one throwing one of those smokes, it's kind of hard for you to do that and then get all the way up to B and then really use them just because of the timing. However, if you want to throw bubble on the fly, just bottom ramp, you just run through it at the cave and jag entrance, and then boom, you have a nice bubble smoke there. That can be good if you're going to wait out the shelf util, right? If the CTs are throwing the molly plus nade, you can throw that smoke, wait out this shelf util, and then this provides you cover to lurk up towards this space, right? But at this point, you still have to worry about shelf. So what can you do? Well, you could re-molly shelf. By the way, bubble smoke is just something I made up the name of. I don't think other people call it bubble smoke, so keep that in mind. If you're in a pug and you say, hey, smoke bubble, they probably won't know what you're talking about. But you and me do. We get it. So if you want to molly shelf late, you can run throw it against this part of the arch And then this is going to flush shelf out. Keep in mind that people still can be on the bottom of this sometimes, and maybe they might be able to be in the corner. If the CTs can be up shelf, there isn't a single molly that can flush out this corner and get the boxes. It's just too much space. So a happy medium is just bouncing it against that part of the arch, and then boom, you're gonna flush that out, and then now you can focus on cave again. Alternatively, you can switch it up where you wait this shelf util, right? You wait the molly, you get towards this right side, and you just run through a smoke very lightly at the door. This is going to smoke shelf off. I would say this is pretty spooky. I don't like this because then once you get up here, right, let's say you throw this molly and you're clearing jag, then a CT can just walk through this and kill you. They can nade it, right? So I don't love a shelf smoke. I think it's much better to have mollies on shelf. So instead, I would just go for the shelf molly, and then hopefully you have a teammate with you who can then molly this out too. But if you're playing really slow towards shelf, right, you're waiting their util, you're going to go up late, then it's often best to lead with a mid take rather than going for a jag take. Because if you're playing slow, right, and you guys are letting the CTs get up towards shelf, then it makes it super awkward to take jag in the mid round, because now, right, somebody can be up here and somebody can be right here, somebody can be right here. Now you're in a ton of different crossfires, and CTs can get down mid if you're taking shelf late, which means that they can be right here and just hold this jump up space too. If you're taking shelf later into the round, you typically want to play for mid space or already have mid space, right? Your elbow players are already out mid, you're good. Now you can take jag. It's pretty tricky to do like both at the same time where you're fighting jag and your mid players are trying to get out mid, right? You want to focus on the mid fight, or you want to focus on the jag fight. So if you're going to play slow or you're going to play for mid space, you should typically be smoking jag off, or you can throw Brolin too, right? That could deny the space from a CT just outright, right? Maybe they won't fight through it. So you could throw Brolin and then get up mid and look, you know, for these fights in middle. A couple things for these mid fights. Let's say that we have jag smoked off and you're able to get up shelf, right? If you know that your teammates aren't mollying jump up for you, then make sure that, especially after you smoke this molly here on shelf, then you are gun out, ready for any sort of fight here towards jump up. Once you're up here and you have this space, if you haven't taken fights, and let's say your elbow players are out too and they haven't taken fights yet, then your alarm bells should be ringing, ding ding ding, that somebody is holding you from donut right here, right? This is the most important fight for you to focus on at that point if you guys are out bottom mid. So one thing you can do, it's not a flash to like get a kill with, but it's a good one to just get out safely. You can just run, bounce, throw a flash like this, and that is going to force any AWPer or any rifler here in donut off of this angle, right? It's going to fly out. It's super visible, but they're going to have to tuck, reswing, and then boom, you could be out anywhere in the space here. You can also help your mid players get out of elbow just by flashing towards this cubby. You can run through one down at the bottom into the cubby like that, or just run through it high so then it pops. That one actually was a bit too shallow. Run through it high so then it pops next to that wall. That way, as long as it's on the left side of this wall, it is not going to blind your teammates, and any CT down here in middle is going to get full blinded by that flash. If you're able to take shelf successfully and you bullied the donut player into back donut, then from up here, there's a few things to keep in mind. Number one is just have eyes or be aware of this jag player, right? They could walk through any smoke you throw and just try to get through and flank you. This is especially true if you guys smoke jag and the CT player throws a smoke like this, or they throw like a lurky bubble smoke out like this. Then once you're up here, right, then you have to be very cautious of this smoke. So keep that in mind. The other thing is from here, now you can be kind of a support player for your mid teammates. One thing you can do is flash them into donut. You just get against this wall right here and you aim at the gray spot right here and you left click jump throw. And this is a beautiful little pop flash for donut that's going to blind any player holding an angle like this or just on this left side in general. You can also resmoke red on the fly. You don't really need a lineup for it. You can just aim, like strafe out enough to see this wall, aim a little high, and just do a little run and left click throw. That actually landed a bit unfortunately, but it still works. One cheeky thing to know about this shelf space is that if you're going slow and you're able to walk up onto shelf like this, then you can jump spot cave or jump spot jag like this. You can see if anybody is playing against that back wall. You can also boost here too to look for a free pick. It's a CT bot, but pretend that it's a T bot. If you get a teammate to crouch on the very edge of this part, then you can jump on their head, crouch, and then this lets you peek into Jag like this, and you can look for a free kill right here, even though this is smoked. Maybe the CT is panicking and they're spamming through this smoke. This one is actually kind of plumy and doesn't give you full vision, but it'll let you get a cool little angle into Jag. Now let's say you get up shelf, this is smoked, we take this mid space, all is good. Then we can come back towards cave and fight for this space as the smoke fades, right? We can split it from the left side and the right side. If you still have your molly, you can throw this bounce molly and then we can two-person clear this space out. So how you can think about Ancient in a space taking way is either you're taking mid early and then you're coming back to take this Jag space, or you're taking this Jag space early and then you're coming back to split middle, right? Focus on one first, and taking one then allows you to take the other much easier. Okay, let's talk about how to execute and how to rush the B site. Regardless of whether you're popping, executing, rushing, whatever it is, the thing you need to understand about B site is that as Ts, you want to gain either cave control or long control. I would say in general, long control is much more powerful than cave control, because if you get out here, right, then you can smoke endgame, and retaking from just cave or just ramp is really difficult for CTs, because going through the smoke is an absolute death sentence for CTs. So try to get long control if you can, but you have to have one of the two. You have to have cave or you have to have long, otherwise you have zero space to work with on B. If you get cave control, then you should plant here. That way, if you're in cave, you can wall bang this spot and deny the defuse. If you get long control, then you should plant right here. That way it's open to both ramp and to long. If you have everything control, right? You have control of cave, long, whatever, you should plant open like this. So if you're going to rush B, then if you have one of the worst spawns, you can get into this corner, aim at this line next to this shiny leaf right here, and left click jump throw. This is a fast cave smoke. That way your team can scale up this way and they can hard fight for long space and not worry about this crossfire with cave. If you throw this smoke for your team, then once you get up ramp, you can just do little W left click run throw flashes towards their high right. That way, when a CT swings towards pillar, they're going to get blinded by this, and if they swing out this way, they're also going to get blinded by that flash. As with any rush, the second spawn should be smoking the molly, right? First spawn, you should be gun out entering. Second spawn should worry about smoking this ramp molly. Now, I would be careful about just like loosey-goosey banking a smoke, unless you know how the B anchor has been throwing their molly. Sometimes they're going to mess it up and just molly really shallow. Sometimes they might molly too deep. I would just smoke it off of reaction, because it could be anywhere in this range. If you have the first or second spawn, one really cool piece of util you can throw is the legacy molly. How you do this is you slide against the door as if you're throwing the Berlin molly, but instead of aiming here, you're going to right click jump throw at the tip of the building. So it looks like this. You slide through the door, right click jump throw at the tip of the building once you make it through the door. And this is going to molly off pillar and deny CTs from getting over here towards cubby to play anti-rush, right? So if you throw this molly, then as you and your team scale up site, you don't have to worry about the side of pillar. You can just aim at this side, right? Or hard clear towards long. And you know if somebody is pillar, they have to be right here. You can also throw flashes to help get out by aiming up high at the blue sky, and then you right click a jump throw that'll pop right here and blind anybody towards long who's swinging like this. You can also do this just left and right click without jumping. Just aim straight up, left and right click, and then boom, that's gonna pop like that. Something you can keep in mind is just look for the trajectory of the B util, because CTs will tell you where they're playing at the start of the round based on what util they throw, right? If they throw a molly like this, then obviously they're coming from short, and either they're short or they're pillar. If they throw the really early nice molly like that, then you can gamble that, hey, they're probably playing towards long, and that will affect your pathing, right? So if you know that they're towards pillar, then you can just hard scale out this way and just completely ignore long, because you're expecting them to be on pillar. If you know that they're long, then you can hard scale close and flush them out like this in close distance, because you can expect that you don't have to worry about pillar as long as you have a cave smoke down. So in general, on B rushes, you will be playing for long space just because this cave player will be committing up here, and they just de facto have cave control. So if you want cave control, then you have to kill both the B anchor and the cave player. But if you want long control, then most often if they're just playing 1B and you smoke cave, You just need to kill the B anchor, and then boom, you have long control, and you can get up here and you can smoke endgame off, and then bang, this is really, really awkward for CTs now to retake this site. One common mistake I see in B rushes at lower elos is that people will B rush a B split. And what I mean by that is like 2 people will rush ramp, and then 3 people are going to rush jag and into cave. And this is terrible because the timing just does not work out. These shelf players have so much more space to get through and clear and fights to be had than these ramp players. So what happens is these ramp players go up, they die, and then these cave players are just on an island. So instead, if you want to rush through jag, right, you want to lead a B rush through jag and through cave, then let these guys go first. Let them take space, get the kill, and then flood in, and then that's when these ramp players should activate and get up ramp, right? Like it looked like 4 people up shelf, 1 person smokes short, and then this person is just playing passive and waiting for these ramp players to get up. This person can even throw a pillar flash to help these cave players get out sight, right? This will blind any long player holding them. And then once these cave players are up onto site, then this ramp player activates and gets up and clears the space. Okay, next let's talk about executing B. And this is something that is more so done in the mid round once the Ts already have cave control. That way we can smoke off short, we can smoke off long, and if we have cave, then the CTs have very little space to play, right? They could be pillar, they could be cubby, they could be top ramp. That's kind of it if we smoke short and smoke long. So in this case, you can throw your util from this corner. You can smoke short, just middle of this block, left click jump throw, and ask for a smoke from somebody to drop. And then you can aim in between these X's, this green one and this more pale one, right here on the right side, and left click jump throw. That's your long smoke. Boom, short smoke, boom, long smoke. You can follow these up with a molly towards cubby. You just aim at the bottom of this design over towards the gap in the door, and you just W jump throw, and that's your cubby molly. You can also throw this set from doors, right? You get into this triangle, you aim top tip of that plant, that's your short smoke. If you get up to this side of the door and then aim in the middle of this top rock, this splotch, top middle of it, left and right click jump throw. This is a cheeky little long smoke. It does land deep, but don't worry, it will cover this corner as it spreads. You can follow that short smoke up with either a pillar molly like this or a cubby molly at the splotch. You can ask for somebody to drop you a molly so you can do both, and then boom, the whole left side of site is completely covered in mollies. To get your team up on B, from this spot, you can throw the pillar flashes. You just aim at this dot underneath the orange splotch, right? This dot, left click jump throw. This one lands behind pillar, and your team can get up B really nicely with that. One really cool spot you can throw B util from is just from this wall right here. You get stuck in here, you aim at this big spot, and you left and right click jump throw a smoke. That is your short smoke. And then you can throw a really nice long molly by aiming at this dark spot in the shadow here and W jump throwing with your molly. This is going to cover both cubbies of long very quickly and flush these players out, so then they can't hold cave and they can't really do much to fight B. Now, if you want to get up ramp and you guys don't have cave control, then one smoke you can throw from this corner is just in the middle of this square. You left click jump throw, and this is your cave smoke. So your util should always be kind of changing depending on what space you have control of, right? If you have cave, then don't smoke off cave. You should smoke long and short. If you don't have cave, then you can smoke cave and smoke short and then play for this long space. I would avoid out of spawn calling like, hey guys, come group B, I'm going to smoke short, I'm going to smoke long. The reason why is, like I've been talking about, you don't have cave control. So if you smoke short, you smoke long, right? Even though you have both of these smoked off, this can still be a really difficult fight, especially if a cave player is good about getting out and fighting you guys top ramp. So instead, let the round simmer a little bit. B site is really good to execute more so in the mid round or late round. Once the CTs have exhausted their util, they can't block you ramp with a smoke, and you guys have had the time to be able to take cave control. Next, let's talk about having impact as the elbow player on T side. Before I talk about the role itself, let's go over real quick instant red smokes, because they are super helpful. They're going to speed up your gameplay so much. So we can start on this side. From this far left spawn, you just look at this top bit of the leaf and you W jump throw. All of these are going to be W jump throws. This spawn, I don't have one for. Fuck that spawn. This spawn, you just aim at this crack, right? This dark crack. And then you shift walk over to this other crack, and then you W jump throw. From this spawn, you look at this square right here, the bottom right one, and you look at the top left of it and you W jump through. And lastly, from this spawn way out here, you look at this dark part of the tree that sticks out just above it and W jump through. And there we go. We have 5 red smokes. If you're wondering which one of those smokes like plumed out so much, it is this one where you have to move from crack to crack. This one I don't throw all too much. I typically just throw them if I'm going mid and I have one of the good mid spawns. I wouldn't worry too much about these 2 inside spawns. If you know this one, and that one, you're golden. If you want to know some slower ones, here's 2 real quick. One is from the right side of this pillar. You go against this rock, and you look at this gash in between the 2 rocks and you just left click jump throw. The other one is from in front of this rock. If you crouch and then you aim in this crack of the tree and then you W jump throw while you're crouched, this is another nice red smoke that is going to land. Boom. There we go. Lovely. There are the red smokes. I know it's boring, but it's important to know because that is going to make your gameplay just so much faster. You don't have to stop and line something up and then do it. You can just do it straight out of spawn. So let's move on to talking about actually how to play elbow. Typically in pugs, your #1 job is to molly jump up. That is the most important thing. And if you aren't molly and jump up, that one landed super weird. If you aren't molly and jump up, then you should be doing something to slow the CTs down mid. You should be flashing out elbow. You should be annoying. You can't go elbow. This tilts me so much in pugs when people do this. If you're going elbow and they're smoking elbow and you come elbow and then you just stand here and just look at the smoke, I despise it. It is so annoying. Like, do something, right? Just bank a flash. I would rather you do even just run around and be loud. I don't care. Do something productive to annoy these CTs who are running down mid. You can't just run here and look at the smoke. So what can you do instead? Well, your #1 job is to deny the jump up, right? So the easiest way to do that is with a molly. You just swing out here towards the back wall, you aim at the tip of this building, the corner, and then boom, there's your jump up molly. This is the best one because if the CTs throw a smoke like this, they're still going to burn through it and they can't just instantly jump up onto shelf or else the molly's still going to burn. The other factor here is that if you throw a jump up molly that lands on the ledge like that, then if the CTs make the jump like this or they get boosted, they're going to burn all the way through until they get here. CTs still can smoke it and duel from on top of the box, but you do want some molly on the ledge. It's just better because if you're throwing this, then it doesn't really deny anything up shelf and the CTs can smoke it and don't have to worry about the molly one bit. So deny jump up, especially if your teammates are going to be going up shelf, make sure you deny jump up and just tell them, hey, I'm going to molly jump up for you. Now, if the CTs aren't smoking elbow, then you have a lot more freedom in what you can do here in mid because they're granting you so much space. If they aren't smoking elbow, then just posting an op on this cross is super strong, or just getting out elbow with your AK and having somebody else just be here to swing off of you. You can bounce flashes against this wall and just duel with them. If they don't smoke elbow, then this mid space should be really difficult for them to take, and you can just wait out the early mid util and then go take mid for free. So keep that in mind. If you're in lobbies where CTs aren't smoking elbow, your focus should just be on taking mid early. It should be free. It should be easy, just with a little coordination, right? You can have people flash for you like this, or you can flash for your teammates like that to get them out. You should be playing in front of elbow and have somebody else elbow dueling. You should op it. You should be super annoying elbow and punish them for not throwing an elbow smoke. Now, using your molly towards jump up is great and all, but if you don't have to, right? Let's say your team is smoking cave off and we're not insta sprinting up shelf, then you can start using your molly in more creative ways. One way to do this is by throwing a close molly like this. This may look weird and random, but what's so annoying about this is that CTs will get out of red and then they're going to want to scale this way. And if they do, right, they're going to burn through an entire molly. So it forces CTs to go around this molly against the back wall. And that's where you're going to do the damage because you're going to come elbow, you're going to throw this close molly, and then you're going to go out with your nade and throw a nade like this because the CT's right, uh-oh, and then they go this way, boom, they take huge damage from that nade. Often as an elbow player, you're going to be pretty supportive. You're going to be waiting for your shelf players to take this space on shelf. And then once they do that, that's when you can start getting, pretty silly out elbow and start splitting mid with those shelf players. If the CTs are playing off of mid, right, they're not running down mid too much, and instead they're jumping towards donut quite a lot, then you can throw the donut cross nade from right here, you just aim at the shadow and these plants where that all meets, and just left click jump through. And this nade, as these CTs jump out, boom, it's gonna bonk them on the head and they're gonna take a ton of damage. It also damages CTs who are running down the stairs like this. So nice little HE to get some chunk damage. So that's a lot of info, right? You're supporting, you're also paying attention. Are they smoking elbow? If they're not smoking elbow, you're fighting. Let's say that they are smoking elbow and you want to get silly out mid. You want some plays to make where you can get kills. Here's something you can do. If they smoke elbow early, then if you molly close and get out and play anti-flash here and then turn and then look for these fights, this is really effective because this molly forces the CTs to swing this back wall, and this is a much more favorable fight for you back here than it is if the CTs are just hard swinging you close like this and are able to just own you like that. So throw the molly close, get out this way, and just hold for this swing down here. To make plays into middle, you need to be very aware of what util the CTs are throwing, right? If you recognize that the CTs are like double nading this corner, then of course don't go for that play. If you see that the CTs are like double mollying out this way, then it's probably not the best to just insta swing and run out. However, if you notice that the CTs aren't flashing out middle, then you can get really silly in terms of playing in front of this elbow smoke, right? You can play out here and just be holding this angle, and the CTs are going to run down and be worried about you jumping out, and often they're just going to skip over that angle, because why would you hold this right here? They're going to skip over and look this way, and you're just right on the edge right here. Boom, you get a kill or two, and then you can fall back through the elbow smoke, or you can just go out mid and take the space. We're going to talk about it in the opping section, but that's also a great play to make with an op. If you're opping on T-side Ancient, ask if they're flashing down middle, and if they're not, then just posting on this line, boom, you get your kill and you fall off. That can be a free 5v4 situation. You can also flash for yourself really effectively to get out elbow. If you get into this corner right here, you aim up, and then pretty much where this part of the tree up to the wood plank, and you left and right click throw. This is a nice little pop flash that you can pop out of the elbow smoke with, and is really hard for CTs to react to. Now let's say the CTs didn't throw an elbow smoke, or they threw an elbow smoke but now they left mid and they didn't re-smoke it. If you want to re-smoke red or just smoke it for the first time in the mid round, then you can get against this plank right here. You look over at this splotch and then just up into the middle and just left click jump throw, and this is a nice little re-smoke into red that lets you throw it from elbow, and then you can immediately get out and use it. In terms of taking mid fast, you want somebody to be supporting you, otherwise you're just kind of trolling, right? Have a teammate just flash over mid early for you. As you get out, you can bounce a smoke like this, and you can even bounce an extra flash if you want like that. However, if you bounce that second piece of util, you ruin your timing a little bit. So what I would say is bounce the smoke, right? And then just instantly duel and hope that your teammate in spawn is just banging flashes over and over and over again. If you don't trust them and you know that they're not going to flash for you, then flash for yourself. Otherwise, you should trust their flashes. Rushing out mid isn't all too complicated. I don't feel like I really need to talk about that more. One thing that you need to be aware of as an elbow player is that you have to be fearless. You can't be a baiter and play elbow. Otherwise, you're just baiting. It's such a hard position to be really passive and scared in. So you need to be willing to just jump out of the smoke and look for fights off of flashes from your teammates. You need to be willing to just walk through this elbow smoke off of your shelf player's contact, especially if your shelf players like see both players mid or they give you good info. You need to react to that quickly, or else you are just leaving them out to dry, right? So don't be scared. Often the elbow player will turn into a lurk in the mid round, right? They get out elbow, maybe they get a kill, it's bang, 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 hectic. And then later into the round, you can lurk into red or you can lurk into donut, right? It depends what you're doing. However, early in the round, you are an entry. You need to be fearless. You need to get out there and get some kills, or you need to be, right, mauling, jump up, and then later into the round, that's when you're going to be getting out and splitting mid with your teammates. Okay, one more piece of util to show you. I know this has been util heavy, but elbow player util is important. If you want to molly cubby, you just slide against this wall until you see this U shape in the tree. You see it? U shape right there. You just aim in the middle of that and do a little W run, left click throw, and then there's your molly into cubby. Very nice. Okay, let's pretend that it's sort of mid round. We took middle and you threw this really nice red smoke that you learned from Wilson CS2, who you are subscribed to, and you liked all of his videos. What now? Well, we need to pressure donut. We need to bully this player who's chilling passively in donut. We need to bully this player out of donut. because once we do that, like we talked about on CT side, we get rid of their sight line across mid. And if we can bully them off of this angle and get rid of that sight line, now the CTs have so much to worry about because they have to worry about donut, A main, they have to worry about red now because this donut player can't see if the T's cross towards red, and they have to worry about the rest of everything over towards B. So that really stretches the map out for CTs and makes it really uncomfortable for them to play. So we have to take donut, or at least we have to bully this donut player off of their spot, right? And how can we do that? Well, we can throw a flash like this to get them off of these annoying angles over here on the right side. If they're tucked over here on the left, then this might not hit them. However, once we do that flash, right, we can peek, we can check. We still have our molly, then we can molly into the back of donut and swing with this and force them out of the space. Another option is if you're going from spawn and you know you're going to do this, this is maybe a bit more niche, maybe a bit too niche for this video, but fuck it, this is a cool smoke. If you're here, you can get out towards the right side of this pillar right here. You aim at the top of this window, just above it a little bit, left click jump throw, and this is going to smoke off the right side of donut, completely blocking this sight line and making it really weird and funky to play in donut, right? If you look at it from a donut player, shit, I can't peek this side. I'm forced into this fight, right? This is the one fight I can take, or I can play close, or I can play this off angle, but that's really it. It really limits the donut player's options, and we can molly behind this. So pretty cool smoke to know. That molly I needed to run through it a little bit more. Pretty cool smoke to know. Definitely a bit more niche. If you do take donut space and you're able to split A or just take A site, and from here, if you just aim up and you see this block that sticks out a little bit, just off to the right of it and left click throw, and that is a nice safe CT smoke for you to throw from outside donut. Another option too that you might think is weird, but it works quite well, is just smoking donut off. That way, if somebody is still donut, they have to respect the fact that we can walk through this, we can molly it and pop through this, right? So they still have to hold donut in some sort of way. Even if they fall back to sight, they still have to worry about donut. And now we achieved the goal of getting rid of this sight line, right? We smoked donut. Now the CTs have to worry about red. If you are going to finish towards B, right? We know that we're going to end the round towards B. If you block donut and just smoke it off, that puts so much pressure on the CTs, even if we're not going to walk into red, right? Because now they have to respect the fact that we could walk into red. And it just makes it so weird for CTs to now hold B, because where are they going to play? They can't play exposed to red anymore. They have to hold it, or they have to play in a very spread out, awkward kind of way. Now, I'm not going to talk about lurking in red too much, but one thing to note is that this angle right here is so powerful, because if CTs are going to walk into red and try to re-clear the space, you get a huge shadow advantage. I placed this CT a bit too wide, but even before you're able to see them and their body, you'd be able to see the shadow of theirs walk up. Okay, last on our list on talking about a T default is talking about lurking A main. And this one is special because it is really bad. The only reason why lurking A main can be really good is because it is so bad that CTs gamble off of playing A entirely because they're expecting that you don't do it. And the reason for that is because there's a huge shadow advantage in A main, right? They can see your shadow from this right side. And if you peek left side, this is such a favorable fight for an AWPer. So lurking A main is pretty useless unless you're gambling that the CTs aren't going to be playing A at all. And in that case, if you hit a good timing walking out of A main, then you can flank this donut player pretty quickly, or you can flank the players who are ran down mid pretty quickly. Then you hit a really nice timing. However, if you're expecting somebody to be playing on A, do not lurk A main. It is useless. You should not be winning aim duels in here. If you are anchoring A, let's imagine you have a clone. If you're anchoring A and your clone is lurking in A main, your A anchor on CT should be shitting on the clone of you lurking in A main every single round. You get what I mean? It's bad. It sucks. Don't do it. So instead, you should be towards elbow, helping your other elbow player getting out mid, and occasionally just checking for this A main push and making sure that they're not pushing out A main. Now, if out of spawn we're calling like, hey, let's go split A or let's go A, then of course you should be going into A main if that's what the play calls for, and you should be clearing the space and making sure that nobody has taken A main early. If you're late into A main and you need to re-clear it, then you can throw a molly like this just to flush out this left side. Boom, you get that molly down, and then you can scale on this right side or have a teammate just hold it for you. You wait for this molly and then you clear on this left side after that molly fades. So you should be going A main reactively to if the CTs aren't playing A all too much. If they're really heavy mid or if they're really heavy B, then you can walk A main. For example, I have a play that's called just 3-1-1 where 3 people walk A main, 1 is elbow and 1 is towards B. The B player is listening to util on B, the mid player is listening to util down mid, and if one of them hears, hey, 3 nades down mid or 3 nades over towards B, right? They get the info that they're stacked or they're just heavy towards one of these 2 spots. Then these 3 A players can accelerate out A and take this space for free. So in your pugs, do not walk A main every round. You're just leaving impact on the table. And this is especially true if they're playing somebody on A every round. If you notice they're insta-smoking A main, if you notice they're opping A every round, go take mid space. The mid space then is much easier to take if they're playing somebody on A every single round. Take mid. Don't walk into the super bad, awful fight or just stand here and be looking at a smoke. You're useless. You're not doing anything. Where A is going to come into play very often is either on those slow reactive setups where like you hear a bunch of util somewhere and then you accelerate A, or A rushes. The reason why A rushes are so powerful on Ancient is because if the CTs are gambling off of A, then by rushing, you're hitting a timing where the CTs are committing down mid by the time you're on A, and then they have to react and run over. And by the time they get back here, they're smoked off and you guys have sight. So let's talk about how to rush A, and we have to start with the smokes. The number 1 smoke you need to know is the CT smoke. If you line up against this spot on the wall right here, and you look up at this triangle, just on the right side of that triangle, you left click jump throw, this CT smoke lands towards back default. Now you might see this and think, oh my God, that is so scary. The reason why you can do this, why this is a good smoke, is because if you're smoking flush into CT like this, then without a molly towards back default, you could be granting the CTs free space out here, right? They could swing past the smoke and just swing into back default and immediately have cover to fight with. So if you're smoking flush, try to always combine it with a molly towards back default. Otherwise, you're giving them too much space. But I like this smoke that lands behind default. It is very awkward for CTs to fight through. Of course, they can lurk through the smoke, but if they walk all the way out towards this side, they should be one and done, right? They get a kill and then you should be able to trade them pretty easily. Now, if instead you don't like that smoke and you don't trust me, then you can throw a deep one, same exact spot, and just aim at the corner of the building right there. This is your classic CT smoke that's going to land in this corner and block off this choke point right here. A note about smoking CT, avoid throwing deep smokes like this. The choke we want to hold for CT is this one right here rather than this one, because this, again, similar to being able to get out here behind default, right? CTs can just swing out here and duel anybody this way, and this is a very easy spot to pop flash, right? Even if I'm just full alone, I can run right click a flash here, boom, and then just swing this player who's just chilling blind in this corner. Make sure that you are either smoking like this, where you cut off this spot, or you're smoking behind default to cover all of this space. There are 2 ways you can smoke donut very quickly. One is if you have this spawn, you just aim at the tip, the right tip of this board, and you just run. You don't move your mouse, you're running, you're still running, and then you're gonna left click jump through while you're running at the tip of that building. Boom. There's your instant donut smoke. It's really nice. I mean, it looks complicated, like it looks like it's so much because you're just keeping your crosshairs still for so long, but it's actually really easy to get the hang of. Another way you can instantly smoke donut without having that one spawn is by running against this back wall, and you're gonna pause when you line this up with this wall. So boom, you see how they're lined up now? You aim up here, you look at this tip of the leaf. This one is definitely much more sweaty. And then you're going to hold A, you're going to run, and then you're going to let go right before you hit the corner. Boom, this is going to bounce against the wall, and again, smoke donut. That one's a bit more of a headache, but it can be quite good to know. Now, whether you're rushing or you're executing or you're popping, whatever you're doing on A, you need to be aware that either you need to play for temple space or you need to play for donut space. And sure, you can play for CT space, but that's just much less common, right? You have to have a lurk, you have to like pop through the CT, there's a lot more work involved to take CT space. So if you're smoking donut off rip, then you should be playing for temple space, right? But if you don't have a smoke into donut, it's going to be really hard to have a successful A post plant if you don't take donut. So what you can do to fight donut better is as you get out, you can run throw, flashbangs, boom, right there, and you're gonna scale on this wall. And the point of that is that this flash is going to pop out here behind big box. That way the CT who's swinging gets blind, and they also have to swing out so far in order to clear you on this close wall. You can also, if you're delayed, right, let's say you throw one of those smokes and you're 4th or 5th in, you can just left click throw flashes against this back wall, and that makes it really awkward for donut players to fight you guys as you get out A, because they're getting blind here and your teammates should be scaling on this close wall here. Okay, let's talk about what you can do with an AWP on T-side Ancient. For the most part, you shouldn't be defaulting to getting an AWP on T-side Ancient unless you're super confident. And that's just because this map does not cater very well to AWPers. You're really relying on your riflers to take space first in order for you to get some good plays, some good picks with your AWP. In terms of more aggressive picks, one is, as mentioned in the midsection, is lurking out of the elbow smoke off rip and just posting right here. Boom, you get your kill and then you fall back through the elbow smoke. The reason why this is good is because if CTs aren't flashing down middle, they're just going to dry swing into you on this angle. And even if they're mollying, you will often, well, you are always, still have a gap on the edge of the smoke where you don't burn in this molly. If the CTs aren't smoking elbow, then just playing elbow with your AWP and denying this cross is very powerful. One thing you can do to help you here is molly close. That way, as you post, the CTs are forced into swinging you on this deeper angle that is much better for you to fight. If you and your team took middle, then one boost you can run is this one on this slanted wall. You get boosted up here and then you can peek into red and you have a really sick angle right here that's also going to open the angle up. So instead of it being an awkward headshot angle for you if you're on the ground, now you're way up here and you can see much more of their body, and it's just a weird random angle that they're not going to expect. You can also, of course, take this donut fight. Just keep in mind that there is the shadow advantage, so if you think the CTs have an AWP, you should be flashing them off of the angle first and then taking this peek. In the early round, getting up shelf with your AWP and taking this cave fight could work, but it is just super sketchy. If the CT is decent and is throwing good util, this is a much better fight for a rifler than for an AWP. I would say if you're going towards B, then ramp is the place for you, right? Holding this long peak, maybe they're jiggling, boom, you get that pick for free. Or you can, of course, get boosted up onto long and look for a pick here. Alternatively, if you boost a rifler up onto this box and then you walk underneath them, and then just look for the pick on short, look for the pick on pillar, right? You can even walk up and just post on this end game spot. That way you can post there and your rifler is holding this long peak for you. Contacting A with your AWP can be really good, especially if you know the other team doesn't have an AWP. That's a time where even if you know a rifler is playing A consistently, then just looking for this fight with your AWP can be so good. However, if they are opping on A, then you can run a boost right here. This is what the boost looks like. If this guy's standing, you're pretty high up. You can also just have them crouch and you still have the angle. But this boost then allows you to peek towards big box right here. And if there's a CT opping right here, then they're scoped in on this angle or this angle, right? And then you're peeking them from up here above this box. Pretty cool fight for you. Now, let's say your team is going A and we kill the site player. You can ask your team, hey, don't smoke CT because you can just post on this cross. It's kind of like Mirage B. If you guys take B and you're in apps, you can just post on window and hold the rotate, right? So you can post here, boom, get another kill and then smoke off CT. If the CTs have been really aggressive shelf, then just sitting doors and holding for this shelf swing can be quite good, right? You can even ask your elbow players, like, hey, don't molly jump up, and then they can like throw whatever they want to throw bottom mid, and then you're kind of baiting the CTs into peeking up here and taking this fight, and then boom, you get one, and now you're in a 5v4. That's going to be your biggest utility on Ancient as a T-side opper, is just denying space, right? If we take cave, like we take all of this space, then you can get up into jag and just post on here, and that way if somebody peeks you, boom, you can get that pick for free, and you can let somebody start walking up and clearing this space while you're posted on that angle. That can work. You can also get up shelf, right, and just post on donut. You're more of a space denier than like going for picks on T-side Ancient when you're opping. All right, let's move on to T-side utility. Now, if you want specific timestamps for each piece of util, you can look in the description or in the pinned comment. I will have that available for you, because if I did specific timestamps on the video for each one, it would be way too chaotic. So here we go. From spawn, let's go over red smoke. So you can throw insta red smokes this far back right spawn. You're gonna look at this dark part of the tree, aim just above it, and W jump throw. from this spawn that's closer to this stone. You look at the bottom right window, top left of it, and W jump throw. From this spawn right here, you can look at this dark crack. You shift walk over to this crack and then W jump throw. And then from this spawn out here, you just aim up at this part of the leaf just above it and W jump throw. And there we go. We have the red smokes down. Now, if you want to throw them late or throw them slower, then you can get up to this side of the stone. You aim at this gash and you just left click jump throw in between these two stones. You can also do it from here. You just get stuck in right here. You crouch and you aim at this crack in the tree and you W jump throw while you're crouched. And then these two are nice and tucked in red smokes. In terms of throwing util towards shelf, like cave smokes or bubble smoke, if you get on this side of the stone thing and then you aim in this gap of the leaves and left click jump throw, this is a cave smoke that plumes out a little bit but still leaves a gap on the right side, and I'll show you now. Boom, still a little gap here. You can throw a more tucked in one from this corner all the way back here. You aim at the bottom of this corner of the building and left click jump throw. As you can see, this one's going to be more tucked in, giving you more space up shelf. Now, if you want to throw a smoke that blocks off shelf and cave, then you can throw the bubble smoke. You just get into this corner with the rock. You aim at this tip of the tree and you just left click jump throw. And then this one is going to land out here and plume out wide so then these shelf players don't get vision down B. One cheeky smoke you can throw from this spawn is a mid lurk smoke. You just aim at the top of this wooden panel, left click jump throw, and then this is going to land out in middle and provide a lot of space behind it for your players to get out mid. Two ways to smoke off donut from spawn. One is from this sign right here. You line up here and then you go at this top slant right here, middle of it, left click jump throw. There's one donut smoke. Another is from this spot with the stone. You get into this part, you aim at the top of this triangle, right? You see there's 1, 2, you aim at the top of that one and you left click jump throw, and then boom, we have 2 smokes to block off donut. From this spawn as well, there's a super secret tech nobody else is going to show you. You spawn in right here, you aim right here on the rock, so 1 rock, 2 rocks down, and you're going to shift walk for another 2 rocks and you're going to left click jump throw. What this molly does is it lands right here and it's going to take out elbow smokes that are thrown from spawn. So boom, they're going to land like this, and then you're going to have vision down into middle. In terms of util towards B from spawn, you can throw the B lurk smoke by getting against this rock right here. You look up and you aim at the corner of this rock just in the middle and you W jump throw. This is your B lurk smoke that's going to apply a lot of pressure on these B players as it cuts off info from B ramp. Once you get through the B tunnel, if you get into this corner, you look at this leaf. I aim at this horizontal line next to that leaf and then left click jump throw. This is a fast cave smoke to block off cave from B site. This is a good smoke to throw on your B rushes if we want to go fight for long space. If you're rushing B, then one really cool molly you can throw is what I call the legacy molly, because I just saw it in a legacy demo one time and now I love it. You run through the doors as if you're throwing Brolin, so you're sliding against the door holding W, but you're going to aim at the corner of this building and you're going to right click jump throw after you slide through the door. This molly then lands right here next to pillar and denies CTs from getting over here towards Cubby. You can also very easily throw flashes for yourself. If you just aim up high, right click jump throw, and then boom, you can pop a flash right here. You can also left and right click and aim straight up. That works as well. You throw that, bang, and then you're getting up with these little pop flashes. From this corner outside B doors, you can throw a ton of useful util towards B. The short smoke, you just aim in the middle of this block here. Left click jump throw. Long smoke, you look at this green X and this less green X and just go where they meet right here. A left click jump throw. If you want to molly Cubby, then you look at this part of this design and then over to the void next to the door and you W jump throw. There's your Cubby molly. So we have short smoke, long smoke, and your Cubby molly. You can also flash high right for your team from here. You just aim in this direction and you do a little shift walk, left click jump throw. This pops up here, so then your team is turned this way. They're not blind, and anybody swinging out this direction is going to get blinded by those. To pop flash out B, you can get on top of this box. You just aim where the signs meet on the left side, and you just left click jump throw. This flash is going to pop over this part of the wall, and it's going to be a really tricky flash for CTs to avoid. It will also blind players over here towards long, or maybe peeking this, boom, they're blind. You can also smoke cave from this spot. You just look at this second square up, 1, 2, aim in the middle of it, and left click jump throw. This one will land in cave. However, it will plume out a little bit, allowing CTs to lurk behind it. Be util from doors, you just get lined up with this triangle, aim at the top tip of this plant and just left click throw. That's your short smoke. You can molly pillar by aiming at this corner of the building and just the left click throwing. To molly cubby, you just aim at this dark spot on the wall and left click throw. There we go. Cubby molly, pillar molly, and short smoke. You can throw pillar flashes, exact same spot. You just aim at this dot right here and left click jump throw. These will pop behind pillar and not blind your teammates going up ramp. If you do the exact same lineup and W jump throw, then this is a nice smoke over here towards end game. You can also molly long from doors. You can throw your short smoke, and then you just get over here into this cubby. You aim right here where these cracks meet the smoother bit, and you just left click jump throw, and this is your long molly. To nade slant, right, this part, you can just stand around this area, you aim off to the side of this slanted rock, and you just shift walk, left click throw. Boom, that's going to do a ton of damage to anybody playing slant. From down here, you can throw a good amount of util towards shelf. If you want to flash somebody into cave, you just stand right here. You aim up at the gap in these trees right here, and you just left click throw your flash. This pops on the right wall and will blind anybody in cave. You can also flash behind your players by aiming right here and just doing a little shift walk, left click throw, and that's going to pop in the cubby right there and blind anybody biting into jag right here. To throw the Brolin molly, which is super powerful, you're going to get your molly out. As you're running, you slide against the door, and you're going to aim at this splotch right here, just in the top section of it. So you're going to hold W, slide against the door, aim at that splotch, and then left click jump throw as you're exiting the door like that, and this is going to land here and block CTs from fighting jag. If the CTs are mollying shelf and you're not throwing Brolin, you can just bank a smoke right here, and this is going to take out any shelf molly. This is faster than running with your smoke out and left clicking at the smoke itself. You can combo that smoke with a flash in towards cave, so you throw the smoke, you're going to swing out this way, aim at the left side of the arch, left click throw, boom, and then this flash is going to pop right in a jags player's face. If you get up shelf, then you can just molly right side cave by bouncing your molly against the right side of this orange tarp. Just make sure that you don't do this too shallow, or else it's going to bounce and molly you off instead. Once you're up in jag, if you get into this corner and aim right here at the left side of the splotch where it meets the horizontal line and left click throw your molly, this molly will clear out all of these close positions. Sometimes it gets this corner, sometimes it doesn't, so just be aware of that. That's the only spot it won't get sometimes. You can follow that up with a flash on the exact same lineup, and this flash will pop outside on the right and make it awkward for CTs who are holding this angle. Once you're up in cave, you can throw a bunch of util here. You can just left click throw a smoke right there for a short smoke. You can throw a smoke here towards long safely by just shift walking or run throwing your smoke and left clicking it against that wall. You can throw util towards endgame by aiming at this tip of the rock and run left click throwing. You can molly it, you can smoke it, whatever you want to do. That's going to land right here and smoke off endgame. You can also molly cubby, just get out this way, aim at the left side of this rock and run left click throw, and this is going to flush out anybody from cubby. You can follow this up with a flash if you stand right here, same spot, top left of that big rock that sticks out, left click or middle click throw that flash, and this flash won't blind you because it pops below you and you can duel with this. If you feel like you're being held from donut from shelf, you can just run throw a flash against here very lazily, and that's going to get anybody off of this angle so then you can peek into them safely. You can also flash your team deeper into donut if you get right here. Obviously you have to be aware red has to be smoked. You aim at this gray splotch right here on the bottom of this wall, and you left click jump throw, and this is a really nice pop flash into donut that's going to blind anybody playing these angles. To re-smoke red from shelf, you can do it pretty lazily. You just swing out enough to see this wall, aim up high, and just do a little run left click throw. This is going to smoke off red so then you guys can take donut space or do whatever you want to do mid. From elbow to molly jump up, well, you can line up on the back side of this wall, you aim up at the corner of this building, and you left click throw. This way the jump up molly extends out towards shelf and gets the jump up boxes as well. Early mid util you can throw to do damage. One is a close molly. This denies this close space from CTs, so they're forced into running against this back wall. You can combo that with a nade against the back wall, so then as CTs are running out, they're forced into this nade behind the molly. You can also nade the donut jump by getting into this corner, aim at the shadow where it meets the plants at the bottom of the wall, and left click jump throw. That way, any CT running here, they jump out, they're going to get hit by that nade or even take some chunk damage if they're at the bottom of the stairs. For more supportive elbow util, you can come back here towards this bush right here, and then you're going to aim at this window, right side of it, this little tile next to the window, this little stone. Left click jump throw, that's your red smoke. You can flash for your team to get out elbow by aiming up at the top of the tree, this little gap, left click throw, and that is a nice little pop flash to blind any CTs chilling here mid. You can also nade the elbow smoke just by standing here, aiming at this part of the scaffolding, and just left click throwing, and then that's going to pop open the elbow smoke for your mid players to then swing with. If you want to molly cubby late without peeking mid, you can slide against this back wall and look for the U shape in the tree. See, there's a U shape, aim in the middle of it, and just do a little W left click run throw. Boom, there's your cubby molly. You can also smoke elbow from right here. You just line up with this, look over at this orange dot, up in the middle of this, and left click jump throw. And there is a loosey-goosey, easy little red smoke for you to throw. From close elbow, you can also pop flash for yourself. You just get lined up right here. You aim up at this plank, left and right click throw, and just toss it. Boom, this pops right above you and is going to blind any CTs down here in mid. Once you're out mid, you can very easily molly back donut. You just run left click throw at this back wall. To get people off the angle, you can just bank flashes very simply against that wall, and then boom, anybody on this right side will have to run and leave because they're scared of this flash. All right, now let's go over some A site utility. To smoke CT fast, this is the one you want to throw on a rush. If you want the smoke that lands behind default and plumes out, you get stuck right here next to this crack and you aim at the right side of this triangle, left click jump throw. If you want the smoke that's tucked into CT, same spot, you just left click jump throw at the tip of this building. This is what it looks like. This is the one that plumes out, covers all of back default so you don't have to molly it, and then the one that's tucked in will be cut off right there. This is for mid and for A, but if you get stuck in right around here, aim upwards, top of this window up here, and left click jump throw. This is the smoke that is going to smoke off right side donut. So you can use this on mid takes, right? Because then you block off this side of donut. And you can use this on A takes where CTs will have to commit in front of the smoke in order to fight A. To instantly smoke donut, if you have this spawn right here, you can aim up towards the top right of this plank, and you're going to just leave your mouse. You're not going to touch it. You're going to run all the way this way, and then once you reach the corner of this building, you're going to left click jump throw as you're holding A. This is going to bounce off of that building and then boom, land very nicely into donut. If you don't have that spawn, then what you can do is run out this way, line up these two buildings, aim up this way, look at this part of the plant, hold A, and then you're going to left click jump throw just a bit before you hit that building. This is going to do the same thing where it bounces off this building here, and then it is going to land in donut right there. Boom, and we have donut smoked. To throw util from outside A main, you can get into this corner. If you want the tucked in smoke, you can aim at this little rectangle right here, just middle of it. Left click jump throw, that's your tucked in CT smoke. To throw donut smoke from here, now you just crouch, you look at this crack in the plant, and you W jump throw while you're crouched. And this is your CT smoke, and then this is your donut smoke that you aimed at the plant for. If you want the CT smoke that lands back default from here, then instead of aiming here, you can aim up at this little green spot that's next to this leaf and in between this plant. You just left click jump throw at that spot, and this is going to land behind default. That's what it looks like. It lands behind default and covers you from this headshot angle. If you want to molly brokey and back big box, then you can swing out this way, aim at the left side of this box and run left click throw. This molly will land behind brokey. Just keep in mind, because you're throwing it so safe, sometimes it will leave a little gap. So if you really want to throw it to confirm that it covers all that space, sometimes I hate how Ancient works with these walls, but you could bounce it against that wall, or just left click run through it next to the box like that as well. You can also molly temple safely. You just look up. I don't really have a lineup. I just think about like that is where temple is, maybe at the top of the shadow works, and boom, you have a safe molly into temple. If you're in A main and you want to smoke CT, don't throw it like this, or else you're going to throw a pretty useless smoke that allows a ton of space for CTs to get out of. Instead, throw it like this, where you run through it against this wall, and then this is going to land nice and tucked into CT, denying this easy space for CTs to take. If you do throw the tucked in smoke towards CT, then you can combo that with a molly towards back default. Just run left click throw it against that side of the wall, and this is going to land behind default and flush any CTs out of here. If your team is going to scale towards donut, you can throw flashes like this behind a big box. That way it pops out in the open so these donut players can't really fight. If your team is swinging this way towards donut, then you can throw flashes against this back wall like this, And these are going to be really tricky because the CTs, right, if they're holding something like this, they're going to get full blinded, and your teammates won't because their back turned to it. Woo! Okay, I think that covers it for T side. Let's move on to CT side. CT side util, let's start with the instant elbow smokes. From this first spawn, you are going to look at the top left of this right side of the U, little shift walk, and then left click jump throw. From this second spawn, I look at this dark brick right here, off to the right side of it like this, little shift walk, left click jump throw. From this middle spawn, you just look for the next dark brick, right? So this was the earlier one. This is our third one. Right side of it, little shift walk, left click jump throw. From this fourth spawn, you go to the next dark brick. Right side of it, right here, little shift walk, left click jump throw. And then from our fifth spawn, we aim for the right side of this dark brick, shift walk, left click jump throw, and boom. That's all of our elbow smokes. There we go. Towards B, let's go over the B anti-rush molly. You're going to slide against this back wall, aim perpendicularly to this wall, and you're going to go in the middle of this line right here. Hold A and then left click jump throw once you pass the wall. This is the nice anti-rush molly. It lands right here, so it covers the cubby, and it lands very early, so you don't have to worry about T's beating the timing. After you throw that molly, you can come towards long. You can nade deep behind the molly like that. However, you can also use your nade to left and right click, aim at the top of the mountain, and then send it if you feel like the T's are going to be rushing B. If you don't want to nade early, then there's two options for you to flash. One is right click, aim at the shadow, right click, jump throw. Boom, you can swing off of this. Another is better anti-rush if you're planning on swinging out wide. You can run at this wall, left click, throw that flash, turn, and then boom, you're swinging out wide for this ramp push. When you're coming through short, I would bank your molly off of this part of the wall. Boom, that way it lands nice and deep, but not too deep where the T's can beat the timing. For your shelf utility, you're going to get your molly out. You're going to run this way. I look at this splotch kind of towards the bottom of it, and then left and right click jump throw once I pass about this part. This is going to molly off shelf. You can combo this with your shelf nade. You throw your molly, you instantly get your nade out. You're going to hold W and you're going to run left click throw it around this corner, trying to get it to bounce off of this rock. Make sure that you practice that because it will take a little bit of time to get used to. After you do that, just knife out, go out here and get into jag. If you don't want to molly shelf, you can also molly armpit, right? That's what I call this space right here. You can molly and nade that if you'd like. You just keep running and then you can throw them like this. That way, boom, boom, this gets mollied, they're flush, and then they're going to eat the nade and get slowed down in the molly as well. Once you get up into jag, there's some neat util you can throw from cave into jag. If you have a bad spawn and you're anticipating the T's to have a better timing than you, then you can bounce a flash like this and then fight with this. That can be super annoying for T's to deal with. If you have a better timing, then you can bounce util against this wall, scale close, and then swing with it. You just have to take a wider angle and then aim around this dot, and then that's going to bounce out like that, and then you can swing with it and fight. If you have a really good timing into jag and you didn't use your molly or your HE, then you can just run through and bounce your util against the left side of this wall, and that's going to block off the T's from peeking you. And then once you have the space, you can just run left click throw a smoke against the left side of this wall, and that will block off shelf entirely for the T's. If you have mid control but you want to peek down towards B, you can just aim at the left side of this wall, do a little shift walk or a little run throw, doesn't matter. And then this is a flash that you can also peek with. Any T down here is going to get super blinded by this if they don't turn it. Throwing a doors smoke can be super valuable. So one you can throw from cave is just this spot right here, top of this wooden part of default, and left click throw, and this is going to land in B doors. You can also throw a really slow one from second from long. If you get stuck in here, you look up and you look at this green dot and you just left click jump throw at that dot. This one takes ages, but it is going to land in B doors and block this off for you. You can smoke B doors from top ramp. Just get in this area, aim at the left side of this shadow, and just do a little run throw into B doors, and boom, there you go. There's another B door smoke. You can also throw B doors from spawn. I know these two instas, but there are instas for every single one you can learn elsewhere. I just haven't bothered to learn them. You aim top left of this rock for this first spawn, and you just left click run throw once you reach the plant. Boom, there's one B door smoke. From the second spawn, I think this one's a bit easier. You spawn in right here, you're gonna aim at the tip of this building right here, and you're gonna left click run throw at the plant again, and then boom, there is your second B door smoke. If you don't have a spawn for an instant B door smoke, you can just line up right here. You aim at that same corner and you run until you reach the very top of the plant, and you left click jump throw, and boom, there you go. There's another B door smoke. If you smoke B doors and you want a teammate to push it, here's a really nice flash you can throw for them. You just get lined up with this rock, and then you aim at the tip of this stone right here where the plant is, and you just left click throw. This flash won't blind your teammates if they're swinging top ramp because it pops behind the little thing right there. However, this will blind this super annoying angle to deal with. Right, boom, and then your teammates can swing down ramp. If you're on B and you have somebody shelf or somebody jag who wants to swing down bottom B, then you can always just throw flashes above bucket to help those players swing down B. That way they have some support in these fights right here, right? Anybody down here, they're gonna get blinded. From long, you can flash into cave. I just do it pretty loosey-goosey. Anywhere around here, just aim towards the bottom of this part of the wall, and these are going to pop into cave for your teammate to swing with. If you want to retake jag, then you can stand up close like this. You aim at the top of this splotch, left and right click, and then this flash is going to pop, boom, and blind anybody in here. It does make a bounce, but it's pretty hard to react to. I would say this is one that you have to throw for somebody else because catching up to it can be quite tricky, and you're also giving up the footstep sound for anybody chilling in here jag. You staying with me? Because this is fucking crazy. We got so much util. B, retake util. You get into this corner, you aim at this splotch, this gray splotch right here, middle of it, left and right click jump throw. That's your cave smoke. You can aim at the right side of this crack right here, and then W jump throw with your molly, and this is going to molly out both plant positions, one for long and for default. To smoke off ramp on a retake, you just aim at this gap right here in between the plant and the stones, and you just left click jump throw. This is going to land top ramp. You just have to keep in mind with this smoke, T's can still play on this angle. If you throw this molly and you want to nade both plant spots too, you can just aim up here, just slightly towards the left side of this little mountain, and left click throw it in the middle of that stone. This is going to land on the corner and do some damage to both plant spots. Both for retakes and for anchoring B, it's important to know how to smoke ramp. From second, from right here, you just run left click throw it against the blue part, and from up here, you run and left click throw it against the stone part. Boom, we have 2 smokes for ramp. You should be throwing your molly down mid if you're the first spawn before you even reach this area, and how you do that is you run around this corner, you aim up high, and you left click run throw, and that molly is going to land here and block off this choke. You can follow that up with an HE, right? You throw the molly, and you HE right here, and then boom, this is going to land right in the middle of that molly. In terms of flashbangs, don't overthink it. You can just throw one down into elbow. If you really feel like the T's are going to rush out mid, you can bank one right here, jump donut, and then swing off of that one. If you jump donut and you're reacting to the T's rushing out mid, then you can bank a flash right here and swing with this. For supportive flashes mid, this is especially good if you're the AWPer and you're just going to float. You just get right here and you aim at the tip of this blue thing, and you left click throw. This flash pops right there, and any T's getting out elbow will get super blinded by that, and it'll pop behind your CT players. If your team did not smoke elbow, then what you can do is get into red, swing around this way, and then run left click throw your molly at the tip of that building. This is going to molly out elbow. I'll show it one more time. Molly out, swing around this left side, and then just hold W once you're here at that corner. This molly will land elbow. However, keep in mind sometimes it leaves, this one didn't, but sometimes it leaves a little gap for them to spot here. So always swing down mid with a flashbang if you're throwing the elbow molly. If you want to flash for your teammates down B, right, if they're swinging shelf or swinging jag, you can just left click throw flashes right here. That can be totally fine. You can also flash deeper by aiming up into this building and just run left click throwing. These are going to pop nice and high and blind anybody who's posted doors or who is over here towards armpit. Couple flashes from Donut. If you're on this left side, just banking flashes like this can be a really easy way to get more favorable fights. If you're towards the back of Donut, then you can aim up, aim at that splotch, left click throw, and this flash will pop right in front of Donut. If you're going towards A early, you can throw this nice anti-rush set where you throw your molly right here, and then your HE against this wall and swing with this. That way T's are funneled into this space and you can do a ton of damage with that HE. In terms of retake utility for A, from CT spawn, if you're rotating from red or from B, you can get stuck in this corner, aim at the top of this, a left click jump throw. That's your A main smoke. And then if you aim at this dark spot in CT and left click jump throw, this is a nice pop flash to get your team out of CT. It'll blind right side big box, it'll blind default, it'll blind this spot, it'll get almost everything. If you want to resmoke A main from donut, you can get stuck into this corner, you aim up, look at this first window, aim towards the right side of it on the inside and left click jump throw. This smoke takes forever, but it will eventually smoke off A main for you guys to retake A. There we go. If you want to clear temple or help somebody clear temple, then just throwing flashes into this back corner is always good, because if the T's are stuck in around here, this is where they won't show their shadow, along with this spot too. So they have to be committed if they're playing in temple, otherwise their shadows will show. So these kind of flashes are really nice for clearing this space. On A retakes, throwing lurk smokes out donut is always really effective. You can kind of do a 2-in-1 by run throwing your smoke against this wall, and then that way you're going to smoke off the bomb, making it easier for you to stick it or play this retake situation. You can also molly this really annoying right side cubby by just doing a little run throw against the right side of default. That way you're going to flush out any TUs stuck in this corner. Goober, you made it to the end. Holy shit, thank you so much for watching this video. Please do subscribe and join my Discord, it's in the description. Shout out you, man, good job. These are my channel's members over here. They're scrolling on by. Thank you so much for being a member. You can be one of them. You click the join button below. They support me and allow me to be a goober on the internet. Now you know so much about Ancient, so what a journey it's been throughout this video. Peace out and good luck in all of your future games.